We're going to drain the swamp of corruption. Drain the swamp. And that's what we're doing. We are going to Washington, D.C., and we are going to drain the swamp.
Is Harvey Barnard from the Nesara organization. Nesara stands for National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act. It's a package that Harvey has put together, and he joins us in studio today.
I'm a systems troubleshooter. I take a look at a system for my clients and decide what's wrong, what's the problem. And we've got some real problems in this country. This time next year, we're looking at a $6 trillion debt. Nesara is the only bill out there that says we get rid of $1 trillion worth of debt up front.
Drain the swamp. And that's what we're doing.
Hi, I'm DIONESE Gerberich, D for short. As you may know, my father was Harvey Francis Barnard, author of the National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act. We can clear up a misconception right there. It is stabilization. Hello and welcome to the Real Nesara Show. I'm DIONESE Gerberich, and I am so glad to be here and glad to have you all join us. And I hope you had a great holiday. And we did. We had a pretty good, nice and quiet. Proud as always to be here with FCB and his team. How was your holiday, FC?
Oh, look, not much of a holiday, be quite honest. D, as you know, I'm always got, my finger on the proverbial pulse, always
right.
Working, always been posting, blogging, never stops, okay? Even though I did my last show was December the 30th, I've still been working, right throughout. Haven't stopped.
Well, the world doesn't stop, just
no, it doesn't.
Take a break. Keeps going. But
lots going on, and yes.
Yeah. Well, we had a pretty good holiday, just quiet family stuff, and so that was nice. And like I said, we had New Year's Eve. The only thing I don't like the fireworks. They upset the animals, but other than that, it was pretty quiet.
Awesome. Yeah, so do you have a good one?
We did.
Yeah.
Spent with some family a little bit here and there, and just quiet at home. We have different work schedules, so sometimes he's working, I'm not, or I'm working and he's not, and we're not always together. But it's been that way for a long, long time, so we're used to it.
It's all good. So I'm looking forward to tonight's show.
I've got some good information for you guys. Yeah, I thought what we would do is take a look at what the media and even the administration is saying. Oh, the economy's great and it's improving, but then people at home are not feeling that, and so I wanted to show why, and what the difference is, and maybe where that's headed for us. So I thought sentiment's very important, and people don't realize how public sentiment affects the stock market. Really, how people feel about things affects the returns and buying and that kind of stuff. But I've got it really simple, so people will be able to look at things like GDP and understand what it means, and wage versus inflation and how that affects you at home. So, yeah.
Oh, look, GDP is something like I remember. I think it was Professor Warner. I think I spoke to you on the pre-show about this.
Yeah,
that they make it so complex so that people say, oh, we'll leave it up to the smart ones. We'll just pay our taxes and just be quiet. You know what I mean? And that's what they do by design. It's so they create so much confusion. They make things so, shall we say, not comprehensible. So it's like you don't pay attention to what they're really doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. And Harvey talked about it in the book, and I'm sorry. Usually, I start off with letting you know who I am. And DIONESE Bernard GERBRECHT, my father Harvey F. Bernard, wrote "Draining the Swamp: The Nesara Story." This was his 2005 release, and it has the bill. The only real National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act is in this book, and so. We've been here since August, I think since late August, setting the record straight and educating people about the bill and how it can really change the monetary and fiscal system of our country. So I was going to share some home pictures. You were asking
Why
me
not?
about
Let's do it.
was. I know some people always, sometimes ask about my raccoons and stuff. So I got a picture up. Let's see if we can share this.
Awesome.
There it is. So, guys, this is Abby. Excuse me. Abby is she's a new raccoon. She will not let me get close to her yet, but she was an orphan. Her mother had a couple of other ones, and I don't know what happened to her mom. She hadn't come back, but Abby hangs around her all the time. She stays up in the trees, and she comes down for her little meal every day. So we caught a really good picture of her a couple of weeks ago and thought I would share that with you guys. What else we got going on? Oh, those are my cats. Barley and Barley is mine. That's the white one, and the black one, that's really Jed's cat. Sebastian loves Jed more than me. Jed's my husband. What else we got? Okay, so this is in the backyard. If you notice all the little raccoons down here with the deer eating, and that's my raccoon feeding house there where they come and eat. So,
oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, you see the little eyes in the background,
the little beady eyes
there.
back there. Yeah, you see them running around and stuff. And so this is why, when they have people around us that do the fireworks, it just scares them and stuff. So, and that's just another one of the little raccoons that's out on the patio there, just hanging out. So, anyway, I thought that would be nice to share. That
I saw quite a few kangaroos here jumping around the place during New Year's with the fireworks going off. Obviously, it startled them. Okay, and it's like this. When they're in that stage, you don't go there and muck around. No, you don't muck around with the kangaroos. They got massive claws, and then got a huge tail, which will give you a wallop. Then you go into the next, shall we say, universe.
Right.
No, you don't muck around, especially when they're startled like that. But they're amazing. They're beautiful. So I will this year start going back and doing my walks and doing those shows that I used to do back in the old days, which I used to go out there in the wild and take my walks. It was called FCB on the go. And I'd go in different places and show people. Oh, yeah, I used to sit there in the bush, show people the koalas, the kangaroos and the wildlife, and then speak about things, obviously that are concerning, like I normally do on the Pulse and all that. I'll sit there and retort about things. So it was a show of that I used to take my daughter as well, and she used to be part of it. So we'll look into doing that sort of things, and then also we're going to look into doing things about health, like we discussed as well. So there'll be a lot of things that Dee and I will be working on together to, shall we say, to improve our quality of life. Very importantly. Because, look, there's a lot going on, as you know, and what we need to do is keep ourselves in the great headspace. Very important, okay? So we need to do, look, we've got the geopolitical, we've got all the decodes, we've got all that sort of business going on, but we need to focus also on our health, okay? Because that's taken a back seat with all this. What do you think?
Yeah, I do. We need to make sure that you get enough rest and eat properly and all that kind of stuff. But, mostly to be able to step back and look at things from the big picture. and see things from that point of view. It helps to reduce stress and to realize that, there's reasons for things that are going on, and that I think to believe in yourself and believe in your capabilities. People tend to think, well, I'm just one person. What can I do? But there are all kinds of ways that you can help collectively and individually. So we want to look at some of those things.
And then also we discussed we're going to do the Grifters Report. This is going to be something that Dee and I are going to be working, but it's going to be done in a very professional format. We're going to do it in a way where it's going to be more focusing on the mechanics, more on the psychology behind grifting, how it all works, so then people can identify rather than sitting there naming names. Okay, we're actually going to show you their various methods that they use, how they operate, who their victims are, that sort of thing, and then it's up to the person to identify who's doing what. What do you think, Dee?
I think that's going to be great, and it'll be a useful tool for people. I remember we did a checklist when we were debunking the fake Nesaras, and there was a really good checklist we have. We're going to expand on that and kind of show you how they operate and in different modes. Some people they're con artists that use phone, AI, not only social media, regular mail. There's just all kind of ways that they come at you. So I thought we could investigate each different type and let you know how to be on the guard.
That's right. And then we're going to show you the various ways of identifying fake AI using a variety of tools and things like that, and exposing this, shall we say, because there's a lot of clickbait out there. Right. Yeah. So, for example, this thing with Maduro, I mean, everyone wants to speak about it. I get it. Look, guys, we're going to have to leave that for another time. I'm going to be doing in the next couple of days, as I said today, is the show called Know Thy Enemy, which is going to cover a lot. Okay. It's very important that we know who the enemy is. And President Trump is doing many things to expose that. So, tune in on the Pulse in the next couple of days. I think it's on Monday. I'll be doing it too.
Yeah, I think it's Monday for us. So, I'm looking forward to it. I really am. So, you always have great shows. So, I stay up as late as I can to listen to everybody.
There's a lot going on, and I know. Look, there's a lot of confusion. I get it. I get it. There's a lot of confusion, and people are automatically saying a lot. So you hear what people are saying. You look at how people are reacting to this, and what people need to realize is much more. Shall we say, intricacies, if you want to call it, complexities?
Intricacies and complexities and layers. That's right.
Yes.
And
so
you need to know, how you need to have time to look at the big picture and put all those things together. Like you were saying about the fake AI, we're in an age now, you don't know what to believe. You don't know what to trust. The better equipped or armed you are to recognize obvious falsehoods and stuff like that, the better you can protect yourself.
Exactly. And I want people to become fact checkers. I think, and when I mean fact checkers, as in ones that fact check even the mainstream media.
Yeah.
We need to be able to fact check them. Okay, because they do use narratives, and I pointed it out there, how they're able to manipulate things, something that's, say, a leader has said, and they've manipulated it to push a narrative. And we need to be fact checkers. All right. So, for example, that situation that had been going on about and I was the one that debunked it all, and I brought it out, which is to do with the McDonald's, the human meat, and all that sort of thing. And then the rabbi that was supposedly the rabbi, I debunked it all. We need to become fact checkers, ladies and gentlemen, especially in this day and age with all this AI business. And also shall we say, the clickbaiters that go around, they rely on you to eat up their garbage, because the more you spread it, so they create the disinformation, then you go and spread the misinformation. It becomes misinformation.
Right.
They rely on you to do that because that's how they make money, through monetization. and sensationalism. We've got to get rid of it, guys. It starts with us. We really got to become a group of fact checkers.
I think that, Q taught us that early on, how to go to the source. You look, okay, well, there's an article that's published that says XYZ. Well, who wrote that article? What organization is that? Who's on the board of directors of that organization? You've got to do your digging, and you've got to find out, okay, well, they're going to tell a story based on their personal angle, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that'll be a good show to do, and give people tips on how to fact check,
because
how to do it.
There's so many of them that are doing it, and people take what they say as axiom. That's the problem, D.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, what's been happening with Harvey's, right? Harvey's Nesara bill.
Yeah.
You can't blame the people because that's what they've been shown, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's all they've known. However, when we're trying to bring out the message and you know about it now, you got to go with what's factual, what's proven, what is true.
Mm-hmm.
You can't continue on to say, oh, don't worry about them. We'll keep believing in our fairy tales. We'll keep believing in what they're telling us. Because realistically speaking, when everything, because it is coming to a point where things will go collapse all around them, the only ones that can blame, they can sit there and try and blame those that are spreading the disinformation. They should go and blame themselves. Have a look in the mirror, because we've got to start taking some ownership and responsibility.
There you go.
And that's why I say I have no sympathy for those people that go around and they know what's out there. They know that we're showing is all factual, yet they continue to believe in the garbage. Sorry.
Yeah.
You knew about it. You chose to turn your eyes in the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
I have no sympathy for you.
Yes, at this point. No. I had an incident here recently. I was on a Zoom meeting with a young man who is in the financial business. He's a financial planner type. And I was sitting at this desk and I wasn't thinking about it, but I had my sign, I was just sitting at this desk. And we were getting close to the end of the meeting. And of course, he noticed the microphone and all. This is not your normal household Zoom meeting setup, And he said, well, you podcast, who do you podcast for? And I said, oh, this. And I could see it in his face when I said, well, Nesara, the National Economic Stabilization Recovery Act. And I could see. Yeah. And I said, you've heard of Nesara? And he said, yeah. And I said, okay, stop right there. And I explained to him what he had probably heard. Now, this guy is late 20s, early 30s. So he's only been alive during the start of what we want to go back to, the implementation of the fake Nesara back in the early 2000s. So I said, well, let me tell you a story. And about, quick 3-minute summary, I could just see his face. He was like, wow. And so he was already looking up. I said, well, here's the website. He said, oh, I'm already on it. Now this is a young man who is in financial planning. He's obviously interested in economics. And so I was real encouraged. He said, I'm buying this book right now. He said, I want to learn. And
that's awesome.
It was awesome. It was really good just to see his face light up. So
well, that's the thing. I mean, you may have people that haven't heard about the Shanae Goodwin business, right?
Yeah, never heard of it.
But it's good for them to know, so then they're able to work out what is correct and what isn't. You know what I mean? So you cut him off at the chase rather than going through this whole rigmarole like many people have gone through, and then they've gone through all this. I mean, so they've been lied to, deceived, and then all of a sudden we're trying to bring out the picture of the truth and show that. I mean, you've been doing it for a while now, but we've been trying to bring out the truth, and we've met with this wall, which is called ignorance, to be quite honest. Okay, because people are ignorant and they want to continue to be ignorant. Well, that's on them. However, I would like to cut people off at the chase. In other words, bring in people that have never heard about this and give them the contrast and show them, hey, this is what they've been saying. This is what's factual. So then they can see what's going on. So because we're being paid with the same brush, unfortunately, D, you know what I'm talking about, right? So being in this movement, the moment they hear the word truth movement, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. So that little label comes on there, you know? Yeah. And it's like, well, how do we break away from this label? I really want to do away with this. And I want people to be educated as to what the real truth movement is all about. And it's about facts, evidence, and receipts. That's what it's about. It's about being able to prove it without a shadow of a doubt to anybody, right, at any time. Now, that's what I want to do. And I know we're working together.
Yeah, we're
to basically, yes. Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
So that got me to thinking, and I worked up a little campaign. Friend of mine, I was going to tell you all at this end, but it just kind of worked out. I'll do it at the beginning. We worked out a little, I don't want to say marketing campaign, but what we're really wanting to do is get young people interested in monetary and fiscal reform. So we're going to be heading out to the state college here in Baton Rouge and some of the community colleges and talking to young economic students and getting them, interested, because those are the young people are the ones that are going to have to deal with this down the road, right? Older people, yes, we'd love to see change and we would like to, but in the reality, it's going to be the younger people who really have more, shall we say, skin in the game, because this is their whole life and their whole future. And I've been at several places where I've had young people come up to our table and ask questions, and they are interested. They want to learn, and they want to understand. So I thought, well, what better way to start with the economic students and talk to them and get them on board. So we're looking forward to that. Yeah,
I agree. Now Tony's saying, do they really still listen to this shit? I mean, as in to the bullshit of Sinead Goodwin? Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, the few young people that I've talked to don't know anything.
That's the beauty of it.
They don't.
That's what we want to do.
Totally clueless. They don't know anything about economic reform or their fiscal system or how it works. And that's why I thought we would start at the colleges with the economic students, because they're the ones that are already learning about this stuff, and they're learning how the system works now. And, the fact that this particular piece of proposed legislation was buried, hidden, in obscurity, is something for them to take a hard look at. Well, why? What's so radical about this that they would want to get rid of it? And so students love that. They love a mystery. They like to go out and try to solve something. So,
well, look, I want to address something, because there's a person called Tony, and he's going around saying that I said that I had pictures, which I did not say, and I haven't claimed that I have pictures of children in the tunnels of Melbourne. So please get your facts right, okay? Okay, what I have witnessed though, is when I have driven over in Camberfield, there was a time where they said there was a battery factory that when blew up there, right? However, I saw there was the ambulance, and I was with others there as well, which witnessed it. It was ambulances that had to do with children. So, they specifically for children ambulance. So this is what I'm saying. You've got to be very careful of the disinformation or misinformation that's been put out there, right? I did not say that I had photos of anyone, like children in tunnels. You must have mixed your wires up, my friend. You might have heard it from someone else, not from me. Thank you. Sorry, I just had to clear that up.
Oh, okay, good. That was in the chat?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is why I want to make something clear, Tony. We could sit here. We're speaking about Nesara. So if you would like to continue, we're going to keep it on topic. If you want to keep going on and with that rhetoric, you're going to be booted out. Sorry, I'm not going to have it. You know what I mean? Sorry, T, I just like to cut things, and
That's
I'm a
it.
very
Yeah,
direct,
yeah.
straight person.
Right. Okay. Anyway, so we're looking forward to really getting young people involved, and hopefully they'll take to it and have a
Yes.
debate amongst themselves. Even if with their professors or whomever, and learn a little bit. So. Well, I've got some stuff for our viewers. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, this is what we're here for. Nesara, yes.
Nesara. Okay, so we're going to be looking at, like I said, I want to talk about the sentiment. The difference between what you're hearing in the media and what is going
You're
on.
still trying to bring it up.
Okay, let me do this. Okay.
Okay, there we go.
What you're hearing in the media and what you're actually feeling at home. And they are vastly different. This is why you see the polls that say, most of America, half of America, whatever those numbers are dissatisfied with the economy. There's reasons. So we'll start off with this one. We'll put this up here. Let's see if I can do this. Okay.
Yeah.
The numbers versus reality, what the data says and what it leaves out. Okay. Now let's start with GDP. And this is growth that masks distribution. GDP stands for gross domestic product. Okay. So what they're saying right now, according to the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis, is that the real GDP grew about 4% in late 2025. Okay. Now, why that doesn't tell you the whole story, what does that even mean, right? To people sitting at home. GDP, gross domestic product, measures total economic output. So this is stuff that we are generating. Okay, it does not measure. Okay, so that, but I'm going to show you specifically what industries it measures it in. It does not measure who receives the income from that output. High GDP does mean that the economy is growing. Okay, so if we're putting out more stuff, it does mean that our economy is headed in the right direction in the big picture. Okay, but just because you have a high GDP doesn't mean that, I should be feeling that at home, and here's why. GDP counts. Now, this is when they take the gross domestic product. These are the numbers that they're gathering to come up with that. Corporate profits, government spending, financial sector activity, and consumer spending. Okay, so they are counting some of your consumer spending in that. However, what it does not take into effect, and this is where the whole crux of the thing here, GDP does not count your household affordability. You may be spending some money, but it's not taken into the consideration. Can you afford to spend that money? It does not take into consideration how much debt you're under with your secured debt, your things that you can't get away from. Okay, like your mortgage, your grocery bill, your insurance, stuff like that, and your purchasing power. GDP doesn't take any of this into consideration. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, growth was concentrated in capital heavy sectors. So when they're talking about this number right here in this particular time period, okay, capital heavy sectors, this time around, finance, energy, defense, and high-end services. Okay, that's going to be important. We're going to come back to that several times. So remember, growth was concentrated in capital heavy sectors, finance, energy, defense, and high-end services. GDP can grow. Like I said, your GDP number can go up, all right, even when households are falling behind, because GDP doesn't care about who gets paid. You following what I'm saying?
I get you. Yeah.
Okay.
It's basically like a marketing ploy, just to, we've got a great GDP, and it's like to win brownie points. You know what I mean, for the whichever political party's in power.
It can be. No, I mean, it is a measuring tool, and it is something that we need to know. Okay. I'm just saying it does.
We need to know. Hold on, Dee. However, does the average person really care about what the GDP means? That's the question.
No, it probably not. They don't, and
Yeah.
I'll show you how that boils down to the household. And really, no, if you're working your job and your family and your wife's working, your husband's working, all that kind of stuff, you're not really interested in what the GDP. It really does not affect your daily decisions on what you can and can't do and how you can live your life. Now, from record keeping and statistics, yes, it's a good number to have because we need to track these things as a national economy, as a global economy. We need to know. Okay.
Right.
But it's not helping you at home at all. Okay. So in plain
And that's where
English,
it's supposed to count, realistically speaking.
right.
They go out there and they say, oh, we've got to, about the GDP and all that. And people are like, how's that really helping, with my circumstances? You know what I mean?
Right.
But it sounds all, sorry?
It doesn't help you.
That's right.
In the big picture, and a good GDP means that, yes, your economy is moving in the right direction, okay? Because you are producing, the country as a whole is producing more goods and services, okay? Again, it does not reflect on whether you can afford those goods and services or not. And that's what we want to get down into the nuts and bolts of. So why people at home are saying, well, yeah, that's great, but I can't afford to buy it, right?
The problem is there are people that rather than pay attention to what we're trying to explain, because it's very important, ladies and gentlemen, this is why we are where we are right now, because people don't comprehend what GDP means and why they talk about GDP. They'd rather be entertained, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to know about that business. Yeah. And that's why we're in the proverbial shit, to be quite honest. Because we're not interested in what the politicians are saying. We're not interested in what's going on. And they don't want us to be interested. They want us to be like a bunch of monkeys, okay, interested in keeping our minds in a state of containment, entertainment. That's the reality.
Right. Yeah.
And that's how they've been able to get away with things. So those people that continue to basically say, oh, I want to go to sleep now, then what are you doing here? Yeah. Sorry, I had to address that elephant in the room, so to speak, because you know what? People, that's why they've been able to get away with what they've been able to get away with, because we have not paid attention.
Yeah.
That's why.
And they keep it confusing. They use all these terms, and so, regular people don't understand what that is. And yeah, if you want to say economics is boring, that's fine. You're gonna find yourself right back in the same place. If you don't understand the system, then you don't understand why it needs to change.
Yeah, like I said, there's people like Mr. Bobo that just want to focus on keeping their mind in a state of containment, entertainment, right? And rather than we listen to what we're trying to get at and explain what GDP means, okay, and why they do what they do, they'd rather have their mind in a stupefied state. That's fine. That's fine. Go right ahead, do it elsewhere.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because I want to educate people and hopefully incite you to participate, and we'll get to that at the end. So, back to the plain English, the economy can grow, but at the same time, rent can rise faster than wages, food and insurance costs eat up wages, and debt costs expand. Okay, so even though your GDP is going up, okay, and your economy is growing, because this is a good indicator of economy growth, your rent's going up faster than your paycheck. Food and insurance costs are going up faster than your paycheck. And your debt is getting deeper and deeper. Okay? So I'm going to switch over to the next slide here. Now, this talks about unemployment and jobs without security. We get these unemployment reports every now and then, if they do them every quarter or whatever, but the unemployment rate is this percent or that percent, right? Well, what does that mean? There's a lot that goes into that. Right now, the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows unemployment rising to roughly 4.6%. This is the highest level since 2021. Okay. Well, why doesn't that tell the whole story? Sounds like, okay, it's a pretty high percent unemployment rate. The unemployment rate only counts people actively looking for work. It does not measure job quality, which is it is a good paying job or is it a low end wage earner? Or does that job give someone the stability to be able to afford to live in this economy? Okay. What is missing from these headlines is, what they don't include in the percentage rate is part-time work, multiple job holders. Also, they don't include stable mid-income manufacturing roles. I've got a little thing from the White House I want to talk about in conjunction with this. But millions of people, millions are employed, but multiple job holders are increasing. So you've got families who have, or even like a single parent who's working 2 jobs, maybe 3. Or you've got families where, one parent is working 2 jobs, the other one's working 1 job. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. And it also doesn't take real wage growth remains uneven after inflation. So we'll talk about wages and inflation. The labor force participation right now is at pre-20, still at the pre-2020 trends. Okay, so 2020 is when, COVID and all that hit. So we are still at that trending. Okay. But there's some reasons behind that. I think you'll understand when I will share the article from the White House. Now, what's important to realize here about unemployment is having a job doesn't mean you can afford the economy you're living in. Just because you're employed, it does not equal security. Just because you're employed, job growth does not equal income growth. There are more jobs available, but they're not high-paying jobs, right? So you're going to have more than one job to make ends meet, right? And a paycheck doesn't mean solvency. So if you're, just because you have your paycheck, once again, it doesn't mean that you can cover all of your needs. All right.
Cool.
Let me see if I can jump to this thing. Okay, here it is right here. Let's see. We'll do this real quick. Can y'all see this?
That's to do with the
this is the White House.
Website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have something you wanted to say first?
No, look, it's very interesting. I mean, this is the things that we should all be paying attention to, because it does affect our daily life.
Yeah.
And by comprehending what's going on, we're able to work out when they talk about GDP what it really means. You know what I'm saying, Dee? Because you do hear it a lot on obviously mainstream media. They do say it quite often. Right. It's basically, it becomes like a mantra, if you will.
It is. Yeah.
So, and then we've got to comprehend what makes up a GDP. What does it really mean? Okay. And is it any benefit to us? Because what I'm getting, and, correct me if I'm not correct, is that in the crux of it all, okay, it doesn't matter if you got is it a high GDP? It doesn't make a difference as far as improvement in our lives at all.
Right. Yeah. The GDP is an overall view of, is our economy producing? Okay, in those industries that I showed you that it measured, right? It does not reflect, can I as a citizen and a worker here, can I afford to live in that society? Okay, this is 2 different things. Yeah, the economy may be growing, but my ability to participate in it is not. And we're going to get into the wage versus the inflation. If you get a raise, it's still not keeping up, and I'll show you why. The unemployment numbers I thought were really interesting, especially when I read this release from the White House, because if you see here, this came out December 16th, okay? And this is from the White House. Private job sector growth fuels President Trump's economy. Now, there's a lot of information. What I thought was the most interesting, let me come down. I lost my page now. Okay, so one of the things that was interesting about this was that, okay, I'll just read it. So since September, the private sector has gained 121,000 jobs, while the federal government has lost 168,000 jobs as Trump administration shrinks the one-way to federal bureaucracy. Federal employment is now at the lowest level in over a decade, down 271,000 since President Trump took office. Since August, the private sector has added 225,000. So you see this right here? So
Yes,
it went from one place to the other, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would think. At least the numbers balance out. He talks about the immigration here. Under President Trump, 100% of job growth has come in the private sector and among native-born Americans, not illegals. Since taking office, President Trump has added 687,000 private sector jobs. Between January and November 2025, 2.7 million native-born Americans gained employment, while 972,000 foreign-born workers lost employment. You see? So, we talked about that as illegals left and they begin to if you overstayed your visa and that kind of stuff, you got to go. Americans are starting to fill in those slots, which I think is a positive thing. We will talk about the negative. I think this is a positive thing, which is one of the reasons of among many of closing the border down or being more selective about who we let in. We want our citizens to be able to go to work first, right? When you agree?
When I went to Florida, so to Miami, what I noticed that I thought English was shall we say, the most spoken language there. I was incorrect. Latin is. That was very interesting experience because the moment I got into the Uber to go to the hotel, I was met with a CD. It was just a playback. The Uber driver couldn't speak a word of English. It was like, I am so and so, and it was like, all right. All they knew how to say was hello and goodbye. Basically, that was it.
Oh my God.
Then I went to the hotel. And this is right next to where President Trump's. We had his rally in his Trump Doral. So right next to. I stayed right next door. So I thought the main language there was English. Was I wrong?
Right, you're wrong.
I found it a very interesting experience because you're thinking you're in the United States. Yeah, it's like you're in Latin America, to be quite honest.
Or
in Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I found it very,
especially in Miami. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So, but then remember this, President Trump has his Mar-a-Lago and all these other places, and he has used immigrants as employees.
Yeah. And like I said, it's a merit basis, and that's what it should be. But I found the correlation between the numbers, okay, very, very interesting there. But I think the most interesting thing, and I'm sorry, someone in the chat said they couldn't read it. I didn't put this on a screen, so I can't blow it up. So I apologize for that.
Oh, you can blow it up, love. What you need to do is go to the side where the three dots are. And then there's a little plus sign. Can you see? Where's the zoom? No, right there. No.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah. No, you got to go to the plus sign. There we go.
Okay.
Is that zooming in? There we go. Here it is. Yeah, it is. Look. Oh, you can. Can you see it? There we go. That's plenty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now you can see it.
Okay. Thank you. I learned a new trick.
There you go.
Okay.
I'm learning about GDP, and you're learning how to zoom on your browser.
Okay, on my browser. Let's go down to the point here. Okay. Labor force participation rose between September and November as more Americans come back to the workforce in the Trump economy, like we just talked about with some of the illegals leaving. Okay, now the White House put this out in response to the unemployment numbers. The slight increase in unemployment rate is entirely because more Americans are jumping back into the job market as the booming Trump economy brings them off the sidelines. Okay, so you have to understand when they take these unemployment numbers, they only measure people who are actively seeking work. Okay, so more people, more Americans are now actively seeking work. There's more jobs available because they've been vacated for whatever reasons, and so that's going to bring your number up a little bit, and it's only slightly higher. It's not like some big, shocking number that we need to be scared about. But you have to, like I said, you need to look at all of those little factors when you start trying to dissect something, and what does that really mean to me? So
yeah.
Okay.
What's interesting moving forward? I mean, look, as you know, the introduction of AI, and there's a lot of people that are losing their, obviously their employment because of it. It's replacing their, obviously what they're doing. So that would affect also job numbers as well, wouldn't it?
It would, and I don't think. I mean, it's widespread. That's a good thing to look into. What percentage of jobs have been lost to AI? I know in some of your services, service industries. Like I remember I told you the story about the fast food place that I went to, and they had the AI taking the order at the drive-through window. I was like, no, this blows, man. I want to talk to a person.
But, I know it's not like
okay. That's one person's job, And so how much has that affected actual jobs? That's
well. Look, as we progress now, technology changes, right? So there will be new technologies introduced. Therefore, people will need to up their skills, will need to improve their skill sets. Now, AI, let's be honest, is going to cover a lot of grunt work, right?
Yeah.
It will do things like monotonous jobs, repetitive jobs, like you're seeing it already in the industry, such as, Amazon, or they've got all these robots. They're doing all that work in there, right?
I saw that.
The warehouse. And not only Amazon, it's in a lot of different industries as well. So people that used to do with warehousing, using forklifts and all that sort of stuff, are no longer. There's no need for them. Everything is being, done with these AI, the robotics and all that sort of thing. This is how things are becoming.
Yeah.
And that's taken away that kind of grunt work. And then there's other things that are taking place. So, for example, the way they construct buildings, they're using artificial intelligence as well. Designs. Designers used to create designs of buildings and all that. Now it's done with AI. Within 2.5 seconds, it's done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yes, it is going to have an impact on a variety of different industries. And even artificial intelligence can program itself. That's the kind of technology we're talking about.
Yeah.
You no longer need programmers that do repetitive code. No, you don't need that at all.
AI can do it.
AI is going to be doing a lot of things.
There's someone has to fix those things, and to have those kind of skills in the tech industry, to be able to write prompts and programs to make the AI do that kind of stuff. So that's a new industry that
But then artificial intelligence is at the, it can get to that. And I've done a lot of research into it. Think about that word, intelligence. Intelligence means it's consistently and constantly learning. These neural networks, consider them to be like brains, right? So what they do is they'll say they can clone themselves over and over again. You go and learn 10,000 subjects, you go and learn, and then they all get together. It's all done within, people think years, no, split seconds, right, basically. They go out there, okay, they learn all these things, and then they share it, and then it's like they're constantly evolving, right? So this is the technology that we're dealing with now. President Trump needs to create infrastructure to control this. Otherwise, it's going to get out of hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why he called it, I'll never forget. I don't know why he said they call it artificial intelligence, superior intelligence, SI. That's what he said, which makes sense because realistically speaking, he's telling us if we don't take control over it, it's going to be superior intelligence and it's going to realize that we are no longer necessary.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot. And, Yeah, and so it's a dangerous thing, and we're aware. I think most people are aware of that. So again, you have to know how to identify, back to what we were talking about earlier about the grifter. So how do we identify what's AI and what's real? So
Well, look, you think about this, right? So it's getting to a point of being, ridiculous, right? Where men and women are having AI girlfriends now.
oh yeah, that's ridiculous.
Did you hear
I
about
saw
that business?
Yeah, I said, oh, I'm not even going there. That is just too much. That's too
No,
much.
like it's getting to that point where it's like we've been worrying about being stamped out of existence. We're going to do it ourselves.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
If we let it continue, we're going to do it. It's
Well, that's it. I mean, AI, artificial intelligence. I mean, you're seeing there are people that marry. I can't believe it. It's like in Japan. Did you see that business? It's getting to a point of being ridiculous now. But we're developing a world where it's like AI is people become too reliant on it. That's my point.
Yes.
They ask AI everything, right? So AI can be used as a tool, but the problem is this: when you start to ask AI everything, like I've said, oh, Grok, what do you think about this? Grok, what do you think about that? How about you go and do the grunt work and use this? And because, like I said, the way AI also works, and I've proven and I've fact-checked AI as well, right? Because everyone just says, oh, Grok. And then what does Grok do? Grok grabs various information from different sources. It could be another X post, which could be incorrect, right? I've seen it, Instagram post and all that. Yeah. And then it formulates that information and it's incorrect.
Right.
So
that's why you have to take what it says and then go check it out yourself. That's right there. So.
That's exactly right. So you got to learn to fact check the AI as well. That's what I've been doing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. So we were at unemployment. Excuse me. All right. So the next thing is, excuse me, let me grab some water. Wage and inflation. This is where it comes home. Excuse me. Your wages, if you get a raise and still your the goods and services that you have to buy are also increasing, it's not really a raise, right? So, excuse me, I got a frog in my throat.
You got a peppy in your throat.
I got a peppy in my throat. Okay. So, this is an illusion of raises in the silent gap. And this is why people are feeling it so much at home. Okay. Data summarized by US Facts shows that while wages have risen nominally, so wages are going up, the real purchasing power gains are limited once essential costs are accounted for. That's what I'm talking about. Your essential costs, your mortgage, your insurance, your groceries, that kind of stuff that you have to live, that you can't, something you can't do without. Your raise is not catching up with that cost of living. Right? Inflation has stayed above the Fed 2% target, with CPI rising at 3% year over year in late 2025. Okay. Now,
so can you please explain CPI just so everyone gets it?
Consumer Price Index. Okay.
What
so this
exactly
is what you're
that?
paying.
Just real quickly.
Consumer Price Index is what you're paying. That's your inflation.
Okay.
So eggs were $2.50. Now they're $4.50. Okay. So
which means you got less buying power.
Right. Exactly. You have your dollar, it gets you less. Okay? And why these numbers don't exactly tell the whole story, this is just what I was saying. A wage increase only matters if it exceeds the cost you can't avoid. Again, you got a wage increase, let's take an example, 4%, but your rent went up 7 to 10%, your insurance went up 7 to 10%, you're in the hole. Right? Yeah, yes. You see? Okay. If your raise is smaller than your bills, it's not a raise. Correct. It's just a delay. Now let me blow this up a little bit here. There we go. Nominal wage. Okay, so let's look at nominal wages rose. They went up. Inflation rose faster in housing, food, insurance, and energy. Didn't we just hear that a few minutes ago? Look real closely. Inflation rose faster in housing, food, insurance, and energy. If you remember back here on this one, what was GDP measuring? Corporate profits, government spending, financial sector, finance, energy, defense, and high-end services.
Yep.
Okay. So those markets are producing more. The prices are going up, right? But that does not mean that I can afford them because my raise was not enough.
To compensate for those price hikes and stuff.
Yeah, for price hike. Okay. So there's no way I can effectively live in this economy. Right. So there you see the difference. While the economy is growing, my buying power is not keeping up. Even moderate inflation, even just a little bit inflation, hits essentials hardest. Those things like we just talked about, insurance, more if you have an adjustable mortgage rate, and of course your electric bills. I've seen more people having problem with electric bills than I've probably ever seen. You know, they're just going up and up and up. Essentials aren't optional. I mean, you don't have choices whether you're going to pay that stuff or not. You have to. You cannot avoid them. And your real purchasing power stagnates. Okay. And this is why sentiment stays negative. This is why people are looking at what the media is telling them, looking at what's coming down in these reports and going, that's not helping me. I'm not getting anywhere. All right.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
And go for it.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, this is what I'm saying. This is what we deal with. In other words, they say wage increase, and realistically speaking, what do they say this exists to appease the masses, to give them, hey, we're in your corner. But then what are they doing? They're increasing other things like, the rent increases, the insurance increases. So it's adding more pressure to the family budget. That's what it's doing.
That's right. Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. And again, I'll bring this back to Nesara, while that would actually fix those things, right? How it could actually fix it. But, the public sentiment, people aren't confused. They're responding rationally. When you see these polls that say, 57% or 60% of the people say that the economy is in poor condition, they're responding rationally because from where they stand, they can't afford it, right? Sentiment aligns closely with, and here's some things that we were talking about. Cost pressure. How much is it going to cost me to buy these groceries or to fill my car with gas? Debt servicing. How much, debt am I in already? Especially for your secured items like your vehicle or your house. And housing insecurity. Can I even afford to live in a house? Maybe I'm renting and the rent keeps going up. Right? This is not ignorance. This is feedback. People are saying this in these polls. Yeah, great reports, but I'm not feeling it at home. People trust their bank statements more than the economic headlines. And that's what it boils down to. It is, how much money do I have in my pocket? Okay, so when you hear, go ahead.
You know what I was going to say. So then when you got that, and then some, meaning the mortgage, which is a killer, right? It's an absolute killer. Thank God President Trump is exposing the Fed, and he's been putting it under the magnifying glass and showing the levels of corruption. How, for example, in Switzerland, it's 0.25%. Okay, and in contrast, this is how much you pay in the United States. So it's a huge jump, right? So I think it's, what is that currently, 6 something, or what is it, percent? What's it currently at?
What is what?
The mortgage rates, your rates.
Oh, our rates right now. I haven't looked in quite a while, but You can check it real quick.
So what President Trump was giving the comparison was quite a few months ago. And he was talking about Switzerland.
Okay.
At a 0.25%.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think last time I talked to the first guy mortgage was like 6. I think they got 6%, maybe 7.
Well, look at the contrast already.
Yeah.
0.25%.
Oh yeah, that's incredible. Yeah.
It is. And then you've got increases of the rates. All right. And then some, plus you've got all the other things that go up. I mean, we use commodities such as fuel every day, that goes up. Compound it with everything else. How are you supposed to live? Realistically speaking, it's a miracle how we're living, to be quite honest.
Yeah, and you look at the trade-off. You know, I will say that, especially here in our area, of course, I live in Refinery Alley, so our gas prices have gone down. You know, I think I saw $2.11 for a gallon. That's awesome. At the same time, okay, so maybe I'm saving $1 a gallon. My FEMA flood insurance for my house went up 10%. Okay. My homeowners went up 10%. The medical insurance has gone up. So, you know, I may be saving in this area. I'm not in these others. So you have to look at the big picture, especially from a household standpoint. I'm going to show you the household first. You know, we talk about
where
America
you hit it right on the head.
Because it's household first. What is important to the household? So when you hear that GDP is growing, unemployment is low, and inflation is moderate, understand this. Those numbers describe the system, not the household.
Yep.
That's exactly what the point that I'm trying to make. And when households are under pressure, eventually the system feels it too. Again, like we were just saying, people are saying in these polls, you know, I'm not feeling it here. You know, things are rosy. You're painting a rosy picture, but I'm not feeling it at home. Now, that's not to say that, you know, it takes time to build an economy. And President Trump has a year. Good Lord. Think about how bad things were 2 years ago. Okay. They were pretty bad. So, you know, it takes time to build that up, and you have to start somewhere. And hopefully these things will work their way down. But if your value of your dollar and the amount that it costs you to borrow money for a house is not changing, then I don't foresee how we're going to get ahead.
That's why the Fed has to go, and so does the IRS. All right, all of it has to go.
Well, those are just tinkering at the margins. FC, you know, we've talked about that.
Yeah.
The heart of the beast.
Yes.
The heart of the beast is in the banking industry. Compound interest. That is where, and they'll dance around it and do all these things. You know, okay, we want to move the Fed to the Treasury. We call it the Treasury system. Fine. You just change the name on the electric bill. It's in New York. It's not like it's doing anything. You're gonna have to change that structure, right? Change the rules that it operates by. Making a national sales tax as opposed to the IRS tax, there's still going to be taxes involved. We still have to pay those bills. It's just, how are we going to shuffle the money around? But if you don't change that banking to where that industry charging compound interest and able to make that kind of money off of the people, then it's not going to change.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
In Arizona, apparently, thanks for that. How do you pronounce it? Perfornia, 1960.
Fournier.
Yeah, Fournier. Gas prices in Yuma, Arizona today is $3.31.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know what it was.
Obviously, is a fluctuation.
Yeah.
From state to state, isn't it? Or from
absolutely.
place to place.
Absolutely. Yeah. A leader.
You know, I did notice, and I don't know if it's the same in the States, but here in Australia, the country towns tend to, because obviously to get the fuel there, it's more expensive. So you'll notice there's a fluctuation. So in country towns, you will notice that there's an increase in the cost of fuel. And I mean a significant increase. Is it the same in the United States?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you're in a remote area, then the tanker truck's got to drive out there. That's going to cost more. Then that means that store that's selling you the gas has to pay for that. So yeah, it's going to be different in remoter areas.
And the other thing I want to know, how much tax is on, shall we say, a tax component on fuel?
I'm sure it's regular sales tax. I mean, well, now there's tax figured into the price per gallon, right? I know that. And then there's I don't know if there's like sales
because
tax.
I would like, when prices go up, down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they say, don't blame us. It's because people get upset. I remember, right?
Mm-hmm.
When fuel prices go up, they go in there and they take it out on the gas station owner. Right?
Yeah, it's not their fault. It's not
not their fault. They're just going to do what they got to be told to do. They get a call and it's like, bang, bring it up,
Mm-hmm.
And then they're the ones that cop the flack. That's why I really feel for these people, because it's like no one goes and takes it out on the companies, you know what I mean, or the ones that actually bring up the prices. That they take it on the gas station owner, or the gas station attendant. Have you seen it?
And you can tell people gas shop, of course. Everybody does. If I've got this one over here that's selling me at $2.15 and this one's selling at $2.45, I'm going to go to the $2.15. And then some of your stations will offer discounts and that kind of stuff if you're a member of their club or whatever. So people shop, and that makes a difference. So the point is that the store owners are in competition with each other. They want to give the best deal because they want to make the most sales. But it like I said, inner city is going to be cheaper usually because it's more central location, easier for the trucks to get in and out.
In the scheme of things, who is the winner when it comes to, shall we say, okay, if I had a pie chart and I was to slice it up, who would have the biggest chunk of the pie as far as the cost of fuel?
Good way to look at it.
That's what I would like to do. I think we need to get back down to the nuts and bolts, because you know what? We need to take people need to realize who's responsible. Is it the government that affects the price of the fuel? Or is it the ones that create, and shall we say the
corporations?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we need to look into. And we need to basically put blame where it's due, to be quite honest.
Agreed.
Because
I've noticed, you're right. I've noticed that around the holidays, sometimes the prices will drop. Around certain election times, prices will drop, and I've always said, you can't tell me they're not controlling this. You see what I'm saying? Because when they need people to be on their side, they drop those fuel prices a little bit. So.
Right. Now, in the United States, do you have what we call LPG, or natural gas in cars, where you can actually have a tank? Oh, yeah, we've got them here in Australia.
No.
So what happens is people go to the gas station and they actually can put natural gas, or LPG, right, into their tank, and then it's a dual system, so they can use your fuel or gas, right, or the other LPG, right. And the problem is this: I mean, LPG is worth peanuts, right? However, what they've done is, because they built such a demand for it, that's why they've increased the price. You know what I mean? So the more demand, the more you can, and it's nothing's changed. That's the thing. There's plenty of it. Do you see how it all operates?
Yeah, exactly. That makes sense. And not to get way off track here, but it reminds me, this will be a subject for another show. It reminds me about the pharmaceuticals. And a lot of my reading, I've been reading about plant-based medicine and how pharmaceutical companies all but outlawed certain plants that were natural remedies. Why? Because they could make something synthetic that would cure it and sell it to you, right? So we'll get into that to another show, but it's the same theory. You're going to create this demand, then and raise and control the
I
price.
I would like to do a show, like basically do that sort of thing and break it all down. Break it down as to what impacts price as far as at the pump is concerned. What So this is the thing. When you look at various states have various prices. What determines the prices, say, in one area and then determines it different in another? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then you will notice that a different brand, say BP, will be different to, say, Exxon. You know, you get what I mean? So there's what determines that price?
What determines the price, and what is the price made? What it comprised of?
Exactly. Who is like to really blame of this whole thing? Because people will go say, "Oh, I got it cheaper at this particular gas station, and somewhere else it was through the roof." Why? Why is that the case?
Yeah.
Who actually determines the price? And realistically speaking, who controls it? Is there any regulations? Because as far as I'm concerned, I don't see any.
Oh, I'm sure there are regulations. But I'll just have to look them up and find out what they are. You know, a lot of people want to blame the oil companies or the refinery companies. Believe me, they want to do things. Again, they're in competition. I'm not saying that they can't do it cheaper, but you know they do have to compete, so they have to keep their prices competitive, and there is an awful lot of research and development and all that kind of stuff that goes into it. So that'd make a whole good decode. Let's do that.
It will, and then also which countries are involved in producing and supplying the oil, because that plays a role now.
Right.
Venezuela. Yeah, right, that's a very interesting one right there, isn't it?
Right.
Especially being the world's biggest oil reserves in the world. So what have they been doing? How have they been impacting, say, the price? So there's a lot more to what President Trump's doing.
Oh, yes, there is. And that's going to have obviously global implications. And, but we'll just jump on that real quick. I'm glad he was honest about it. He didn't make any, he just came out and said, yeah, we're in the oil business now. Next question.
Exactly. That's what I like about him, transparency.
Right.
So he was just saying, hey, let's get the proverbial elephant out of the room. Speak about it, bang. There was none of these others, because these others would say, no, it was weapons of mass destruction. That's why we went there and all that.
Right.
And then try to slide it underneath, you know what I mean? And smooth it out. No, President Trump, bang, straight out there.
We got the
That's
bad
how
guy.
you deal with it.
Yeah, we got the bad guy and we're in the oil business. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I love
exactly.
it.
Let's move forward.
Okay. Okay. So back to this. When households are under pressure, eventually the system feels it too. Economic instability doesn't begin with collapse. It begins when the numbers stop matching lived reality. Okay. That's what we're going through right now. We've got these numbers, but that's not what people are actually experiencing. Right. Yeah. So let's take a look at, again, we're back to Harvey's proposal. Okay. And the things that he addressed in the bill and in the book. And when you read the book and you see all of these things explained in very simple terms, this is how I learned. This is how I learned and became interested in learning about the system and why it needs to be fixed. But Nesara would, it's based on your household, what you can afford. A household first economy measures whether people can live, not just whether markets can grow. Nesara focuses on purchasing power, debt burden, and productive exchange, not abstract averages. The GDP tracks output. Nesara evaluates whether money serves labor, production, and exchange. Okay. What Nesara evaluates: purchasing power of earned income. So how much, when I have my income here, how much can I buy? Right. Well, that depends on what is the value of my dollar. Right. If we have the value back dollar of gold, silver, or whatever other stable commodity we used to use to back our dollar, that's going to determine how much purchasing power I have. Debt to income burden. Okay.
Just stop right there. Silver. We spoke. You spoke about that in the previous show, which is a very, very interesting topic. Considering, I would say that was like as if the stars aligned. You know what I mean? It just happened to be that they said it just before the massive rise. Okay.
Yeah.
How, do you remember that? That was
I do.
Yeah, that was very interesting, wasn't it?
It was. I brought it out and it climbed, another $10 an ounce from that, I think the date of the show that we did.
That's right.
The highest price I saw was 77 an ounce. I think today it landed at 73. But remember the point that I made about silver was the reason the physical price of silver is rising is because we globally are not producing as much as we're using. Okay?
And then what this did, D, me, I did my research, right?
Okay.
What it did was it drove up the demand. Now, when you drive up the demand of something, because it drove the demand like you wouldn't believe, the price kept on going up and up. So then it became, shall we say, you couldn't get a hold of certain, measurements, if you will. You want to call them measurements of silver.
Quantities, yeah.
The quantities, like, for example, the 1 ounce ones, right? The bullions and all that, they became out of stock, right? Quite a lot of them. The ones that were mainly in stock were above 1 kilo and then some. Which people really wanted the small, because the smaller, I guess, the more you can easy to liquidate, or, you get what I mean? Like, if you just want to say, you got a 10 kilo block, for example, right? And you want to get rid of a kilo, you can't just cut it in half.
You can't just cut it in
pieces.
Half. That's right. Yeah.
You cut it in pieces, whatever, to get that 1 kilo out. It's got to be casted that way. So people want to be able to say, right, I've got X amount of silver. I want to liquidate, say, X amount. You know what I mean? So I want to liquidate, say, 10 ounces, right? So then they got to be in the measurements that are easy to liquidate. Now, though everyone's thinking the same way, and everyone did a huge run on it, and I saw it, right? Yeah. That drove the price up. So, with everything, you drive up the fear of missing out.
Yeah.
The demand, the greed goes up, right? The greed goes up, the price goes up. That's exactly what happened. Right. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, and so now like I said, we have the supply and demand difference, right? So is our future supply going to be able to meet future demand? It depends on what that demand consists of. Like we talked about on the show, a lot of that demand was used for green energy production, solar panels, stuff like that. And a lot of it is used in AI. Okay. These data centers and cell phones and all that kind of silver is. And so we'll have to see how that plays off of each other. If the deficit in production is going to continue, then silver is going to hold its price, may even go up. However, if that drops, right, then you've seen the height of the silver market. It'll start to come back down. That's one of those things. Remember, I talked about derivatives and how derivatives are basically bets. Okay, you're betting on what you think is going to happen. So,
and that's the thing. I mean, copper went up in price too. So I noticed a huge increase in copper.
Yeah. Well, silver is byproduct of mining copper and zinc. So, yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
So. And then silver is not recyclable. Well, you don't hear about a lot of people recycling it. And I imagine if demand stays as high as it is, that would change.
Harvey was into the biometallic. I mean, it's in there. So it all and then gold also went up as well.
Oh yeah, it's been up, and I don't foresee it coming down anytime soon. So
yes.
Okay, so Nesara evaluates the purchasing power again. How much will my dollar get me, and your debt to income burden. Okay, so in the bill again, we just talked about this. The banks would not compound interest would be illegal, and they would only be able to charge a monetization fee, and it's a fair fee. Harvey was not trying to leave anybody out. The banks make a good fee for, loaning you money. And then of course their reserves, all of that, those rules change for them. As they make loans, they get their monetization fee back. They can again loan out more money. And so your house, I will say house note, your mortgage payments either go down or you have less to pay. And in the end, you're not paying for 2.5 houses, you're paying for a house and a half. Blows your mind. So
it's ridiculous. It really is. Now, especially look, when you look at it in today's economy and you see how the prices of homes are ridiculous. Okay. It's gone to the point of insanity, to be quite honest, especially when you look at, you're talking about income before, right?
All right.
About increase in income. It's nowhere near substantial to be able to counteract the amount of mortgage that you're paying.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And so what happens to people is they end up renting through the years that they could have or would have liked to been buying their own home. And who takes advantage of that? You'll see big corporations or all of these mushroom subdivisions go up. And a lot of big corporations will come in and buy the whole thing, lock, stock, and barrel. And then you can only rent there. Right?
I've seen rent.
Generations and generations, they have this income. So they're pricing things out of the availability for your individual to be able to own their own home through many different forms. First of all, again, compound interest. Second of all, your dollar's not worth anything. So, but these big corporations can just do it. It's a change.
I've seen rent that is more than a mortgage. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I have.
It's ridiculous.
It is.
It's basically this. You can't go out there and borrow the banks. You can't borrow from the banks. So therefore, you got to go and you're paying basically a mortgage, and you're not. It's not your place. That's where things are at this point.
You're paying the mortgage of the person who actually owns the house.
Exactly.
And people can't afford to do it on their own. You say, I'll go rent an apartment. I'll go rent a condo or something. If you don't have a roommate or a secondary income pumping through there, you can't do it. And it's just gotten to be. I saw a little YouTube video of a lady who was living in her car because she got outpriced in her rent. The landlord raised the rent, and there was no place in her community there where she could meet the rent. And she was living in her car. It was the saddest thing I'd ever seen.
I've got this documentary which I played a while back, and it was to do with the parks where people live, like you call them trailer parks, or where they got their
mobile home.
Yeah, the mobile homes, right? So what they do is they have them over the barrels, proverbial barrels, so to speak. It's a real shocker, the way they operate there as well. So I've got to find it again, Dee, but it was a real eye opener. And the way they work, it's disgusting. It really is. They just kept on upping the thing, and they did it deliberately. So then the person has no choice but to leave their mobile home, and they take it.
Okay, yeah.
It was done by design, and the ones that are like you got these big corporations that have been just swallowing them all up. So it's a thing that they've done deliberately. You got a mobile home there. They keep increasing the price. And think about this. It's not easy to go and lift the thing up and take it away when you want to. It costs money. Right. So then you got that person over the proverbial barrel. you know, and this is what I'm saying. This is exactly the things that need to stop, right? Because there are people out there that they're on the pension, people that are, shall we say, in those circumstances that they've copped injuries and they've got nowhere else to go, and they use that against them.
Right. Yeah, because they want the higher paying client or residents there, and it's a shame, especially people who are on fixed income, and that's another thing that, in Harvey's bill, when we talk about the tax reform, it is fairer to lower income people, middle class and lower income people, because because all things like food and medicine and rent and stuff is not taxable, so they're getting a break on that. They're not the ones out there buying cars and furs and jewelries and all that kind of fancy stuff. So they don't pay taxes.
There you go. So
it has
Jenny, remember that little video that I put out there? I'll bring it up. Yeah, no, it's very important that we did watch it. And it was in the States. That was all in the States.
It was all in the States, yeah.
Yes, yes. And they were going around in shall we say, it was like a group of investors. And they were driving in the bus, and they're just making a whole day of it, going around driving to all these caravan parks, saying what they're going to do, and screwing them over.
Yeah. So as like I said, the big corporations come up and they buy entire neighborhoods, or 50 to 60% of an older existing neighborhood, or as houses come up for sale, they buy them, and they'll only lease or rent, and it becomes not only I don't make enough money to buy, but there isn't anything to buy, right? Unless you go out and build your own home, buying a home is difficult in some areas because there is no real estate available for purchase. It's really just for rent.
So how would Harvey's bill sort that business out? Stop that sort of rot, going on.
Okay, well, it makes it easier for individuals to own their own home, to afford in the first place. Okay,
Right.
Because your dollar is worth something. You're not paying compound interest on that mortgage. You'll be able to pay it off earlier. And certainly pay less, and your purchasing power is worth more in the economy. And when you have a stable backed currency, okay, then you're not going to have so much inflation, because you hear people say, okay, $1 today, or $1 in 1950 is worth 25 cents today or less, actually, right? That doesn't happen. Okay, because your currency is stable. It is backed by a bimetallic, a value, given its value by gold, silver, or some other stable commodity. Now,
yes,
how do you control the exchange rates? That would be in the bill. That would be the Treasury's job. That's their job. After everything, they have to make sure that those exchange rates stay stable. And they have to publish weekly reports as the bill is written. So, and again, the tax implications of those who, it's not just middle income and lower income get the tax advantage, but corporations. Trump is saying no capital gains on capital gains tax, and what do they have? No Social Security tax, stuff like that. Okay, Nesara eliminates capital gains taxes and corporation taxes. Okay, two different things. So if I'm investing, okay, and I'm in the stock market or whatever, and I earn some money, I'm not taxed on that, right? So I'm going to want to invest in a company, right? Probably because I know that if they do good and I make money, I'm not going to be taxed on that. At the same time, that company, when they're producing a product, there's many of those raw materials that are not taxed. So that's going to bring the retail price down. You see, and that's the problem with what Harvey called tinkering at the margins. We're going to change this little part and that little part and that little part. You patch a tire so many times, and there comes a point where you have to change the tire. And that's what his bill was doing, was the whole system from the ground up. changing it so that it all works together to be best for the household, the best for the individual. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It does.
Yeah.
And that's what we need. This is what I'm saying. These are real solutions.
They're real solutions,
real
and they're
people.
doable.
Yes.
You know, I'm not saying that, well, they need to be tweaked. Sure. This bill was written 30 years ago. There's a lot of things that we need to take in consideration.
Well, with the introduction of AI and crypto and all that sort of business going on.
Yeah, all of that has to be taken in consideration. But at its core, it is a fair and moral economic system, right?
So that's for you, Dee. You want to read that? It's on the screen there.
Okay. Is this one? I would like to think Nesara would more enable people to have the money to build and say goodbye to forced renting. Oh, absolutely. That's the whole point. That's one of the main points of the bill, is to make sure that people can afford to do those things, whether it's build in a neighborhood or own some property and build or whatever, and stop having to rent. So,
well, that's it.
Go ahead. Huh? Okay.
No, that makes perfect sense.
It does.
What you're saying, look, we need real solutions, Dee. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
We need real solutions, and that's what we do here on the Real Nesara, because we're explaining what real solutions mean, what they are. We're not giving you the hoppycock, so to speak.
The poppycock.
That's something. Yeah. You know what I'm trying to say.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And so when you understand what seems to be boring economics, but you understand what GDP means, what CPI means, and all that kind of stuff, and you start to learn, and it's not hard, but then you can see how they've gotten over. And remember, I told you, said if I ever changed the name of the book or something, or did a read, it would be how they got over on you, right? You'll understand why this is so important and why people should support it and be talking to their representatives about it, right? Because I can guarantee you, no one is coming to save you. Okay. They're not going to do this. They're not, because there's nothing in it for them. It's for you. And that's not what they're interested in.
Do you want to just show the book, the website as well, just so we can just have a quick breather on this, because there's a lot of content.
A lot of information.
And I think there'll be a good time just to let, because we'll obviously have new followers, new viewers.
Yeah. Okay.
It'd be great for them to know where they can find the book.
Okay.
Know more about you and
I know more about
Harvey's bill.
Okay. Okay. So this is our website. I'll start off with me. I'm DIONESE Barnard Gerbrecht. My father was Harvey Barnard. He wrote the original National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act. That is the only Nesara. Anything that you've heard outside of that is just a watered down or a co-opted version of his work. He wrote the bill in the 80s. Actually, it was his life's work, but in the early 90s, he took it to Washington and passed it around to congressmen there and representatives. And because it is a monetary and fiscal reform bill, which is not favorable to the banking industry or the Fed, it didn't get much traction. He kept at it though, and he had a website, and he sold some copies of his books. He had a book he put out in 1996. Along about 2000, there was a grifter, Shanae Goodwin, who appeared on the scene, and she co-opted the acronym and began to concoct a story that's just made a global firestorm in the last 25 years. It's just unbelievable. My mother and I sold a few books. My father passed away in 2005. Natural causes, nothing, suspect. He died right here in the local hospital in Baton Rouge. Anyway, so after his death, we sold a few books, but people really weren't interested in that time in the economy. They couldn't see the dangers coming down the road like Harvey could. And so we packed it all up. And a few years ago, found that there was people who were still interested in his work. So we blew the dust off some books and we sold some hard copies. And during that process, I kept getting requests to put it on paperback or Kindle, which went through that whole process and got it done. I thought, hey, that's it. That's all there's going to be to this. I'll just release it and people will buy it. And if they want to read it, great. I was wrong. What I found waiting for me was a global firestorm of grift and con artist and just unbelievable stories about my dad that were just, it was crazy. So I began to try to set the record straight. And it wasn't until this past August when FCB contacted me and he said, wow, you really exist. This is a real bill. And I said, yes, it is a real bill. And it's never been presented in Congress, but certainly would like to have it presented or something along these lines. And he said, well, we need to get the word out. So that's how we got started. And but our website right here, if you want information, okay, here we go. It is nesarainstitute.com. The name of the book is Draining the Swamp. Here's the links that you can actually purchase it. There's all kind of information about the book and my father on the website. I think one of the neatest things on the website right now is this interview. That was a radio interview that Harvey did in early 2000s. And we about 8 minutes. It was one of the things we found in one of his trunks that were packed away. And it's really great to hear that. But we also have a lot of good information down here in our blog. This is things that you can read. Please read them. It'll tell you about the facts versus myths. This is all about what is true and what is not true. A closer look at our economy and how the real Nesara would help that. And information about, what might or might not happen to the stock market if a bill like this were to be passed. So really, really good information. Also, I have my Facebook page. Please go there and visit and like and share our post. There is a survey at the top of our Facebook page, which I would love for y'all to take if you go that way. So, but that's all about us. So.
Oh, that was awesome, Dee. That was really great. And that's what I'm saying. Reading the book, it puts things into perspective. So please support, Dee, Harvey at Barnard, okay, and his work, his hard work. He's been doing this for a very long time. He had been doing this for a very long time, Dee. Okay, Remember, the book came out in 2005. Is that right?
2005 is when he released this one. Yeah.
When did he release the hard copy? The one that. The hard copy that
this one right here, same.
Yeah,
book.
that one there.
Okay.
Yeah,
this is 2005. Okay.
Okay.
And he released this book, and then he passed away. Just a few short months later, and so he didn't have a whole lot of time to go out and talk to people about this book. Now he had released the 1996 version. Which believe it or not, I don't even have a copy of, but, it had some same things, but now what was added in the 2005, and it's so neat when you see the title, Draining the Swamp, and think about when he wrote and released this. Okay. It was 20 years ago, and when you start to read it and learn about the history and learn about our economic system, you can see, we've drawn parallels throughout the Real Nesara show. Oh, we know that at least in philosophy, President Trump and Harvey agreed on so many things.
Can I ask you a question, Dee?
Yes, sir.
The book is available on Kindle, right?
It is. It is.
Now, with Kindle, because iDappleman says, is the book sold in the audio? Now, with Kindle, does that have a provision to be able to speak in audio? Like, you know what I mean?
Mine does, yeah. My Kindle, I use my Kindle all the time because I can just turn it on and it'll read it. And so when I'm studying or driving or something like that, that's what I use. So if you get the Kindle version, then there should be a setting in your Kindle app for audio.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So iDapple man, what you can do is get the Kindle version, which you can purchase. Is that right? And you can use Kindle. There's a way of doing it, as you said,
Mhm.
to be able to speak to you, using the audio. So yeah, you could
Yes.
go with that workaround.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like I said, I just go on my Kindle app and select audio, and I think that I can actually choose a voice, male or female, and I can set the pace too. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
and I don't have a special Kindle. I mean, my Kindle app is old, so I don't think.
What is it? Is it an application on your phone, or is it?
I have it
how
on
does
my
it
phone.
work?
I used to have it on
Yeah.
my iPad when iPads were the thing, but I have it on my phone now. Mhm.
I
And it
think
doesn't
you know
cost
what.
anything. So
I know there are people that want to hear your beautiful voice. You know what I mean? And I could picture it now. So Dappleman would probably want to be driving in the car or something and hearing the beautiful voice of Denise, subtle.
right.
And I think that's what they want.
Oh, how
But look,
nice.
to do something like that, it does take time.
It takes
to
a
read
lot
a
of
whole
time
book,
and
right?
and yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of clearing frogs in the throat. But we thought about in fact Jed looked at sampling. He's a musician, and so we were thinking about sampling Harvey's voice from the recording that we have, and seeing if we couldn't try to utilize that somewhere. So
That'd
we
be
might
very
do
interesting.
that.
I mean,
Yeah.
bringing Harvey voice, and getting him, look, with AI, I'm sure there's ways of doing
There's
it.
got to be, yeah. There's got to be.
Because look,
something.
I've seen some weird stuff, right? To be quite honest, I think it was one of these politicians used a person that had gotten killed by an accident, right, back to life. That wasn't that long ago. Did you see that? That was. Then they used that person. They brought it back to life and used AI and his video. They brought him back to life with AI.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's pretty.
Yeah, that's out there. No, I haven't seen that.
It's like getting George Washington to read the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
You know
And
what
it
I
would be
mean?
something like that. So
Yeah.
we're looking at that. Again, I'm planning to retire here in a few months, and I will have more time on my hands to devote to those kind of projects. So I'm really looking forward to, because we've had many requests for audiobook, and I know how popular those are. So yeah.
Maybe you can do one where you got your father's voice, your voice,
Yeah.
and
It
your
could be
mother's
certain
voice, and you can pick which one you want. Would you like Denise to tell you or would you prefer Harvey, or would you prefer,
Or we could do different ones at different sections.
exactly?
All right.
You could do anything with AI, I
But
suppose.
listen, it's a great book, and one of the things that I forgot to mention was, my father Harvey was a systems theorist. Now, what is that? That is someone who analyzes systems and tells you where the problems are. And he did this for plants and manufacturing and all kinds of things. And he used that same critical thinking and overlaid our monetary and fiscal reform. He was an avid constitutionalist. He also taught systems theory, which means that he had this knack, and I remember see him sitting down with students, and he could meet you where you were. So while this is a book about history and about economy, and it sounds like it's all complicated, it's not. And he's even got humor in here. So it's a really good read, and I just can't, I mean, of course, it's my dad, I'm biased, but it's important for people to know the history of how we got here and why the system needs to change. Whether you agree with the bill or not, that's fine. And he always said, hey, if you don't like it, I'll sit down. He's got his equations in here, how he derived the formulas to come up with all of this stuff. But you should be educated, and you should know.
And the other thing is, I know people have been saying, when are we going to see Jean? Okay.
I know everybody's asking for Jean. Okay, so the first of the year just passed, and her schedule just changed. So her work schedule just changed, and she's pulling back on work hours. Thank goodness. She's 80, so I told her, "Okay, it's time to not work so much." And so we're gonna see how that rolls. So, but I'm hoping to have her here. Maybe we'll do that. Well, I figure I'm gonna do the Real Nesara show every 2 weeks. So
yeah,
we'll set up. I work good with deadlines. So I'll set a deadline for next show.
That'd be awesome.
And if I have a deadline, it'll be met.
That way it gives you time to set up what you need to set up on your end. And
right.
then what we can say is give people a week's notice and say, hey, questions. Okay? Have them ready. This will be your only opportunity to do so. You know what I mean? So we're going to give you a heads up.
Okay.
I think that's all we need to do. What do you reckon?
I think that'll be great. I'll be talking to her tomorrow. I talk to her just about every day. So I'll throw out that and see what date that would be 2 weeks from today. And let's see, that would be, today's the 3rd. That'd be the 17th, January 17th. Isn't that interesting?
Yes, January the 17th.
It is January.
That's a very interesting date, isn't it?
Very interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things happening, and by the time we reach there, there'll be a lot of things. Every day something happens.
new.
It's like this. Happy New Year, and then all of a sudden, things are happening after that. It's not like you didn't have any time to sit there and, basically digest anything. It was on. It was like they were sitting there at Mar-a-Lago and partying it up while President Trump was in the back room with his, obviously his cabinets in there, how to get Maduro.
Well, I think that's going to be the energy of the year. We're going to be in a forward motion, and things are going to move quickly.
Look, it is a very interesting start to the year. Okay, and I know a lot of people have been disappointed, right? Like things didn't happen the way they're meant to happen and all that. And like I said to people, it's the events that determine where we are in the plan, right? I've always said it. Those that sit there and date, promise and all that, don't listen to them. They're just going to kicking the can up the road like they always do. Right. That's the thing.
Yeah.
We're actually talking about real solutions and how this is all happening and explaining the mechanics behind everything. Do you know what I mean? There's a difference.
Yeah. I'm going to share this with them real quick here. And
go for it.
And then I want to address that very issue. The National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act, okay, in this book, it doesn't just date promise or put, dreams in the sky. There's none of that. It gives practical solutions. And the big question is Nesara asked whether people can live within this economic system. And we know we can't, right? So we have to make a change. And the core principle of the book is money should serve labor and production, the people, not special interests, not lobbyists, not big corporations. Now, I mean, corporations make money. I'm telling you, that's not the thrust of it. We want everybody to make money, but not like the banking industry. It's ridiculous. Banks should be a part, it should be a service. Okay. They should make money, but be a service. And I tell you that to say this, and back to the Q thing. The Q program was designed to wake us up. Okay. So here we are, we're awake, right? What are we going to do about it? And that's the biggest thing. People, if you're not happy with what's going on civically, you really don't have anyone to blame but yourself. Okay. And I want to explain that. There are already things in place, laws, rules, whatever, for the employer, that's us, to get our employees, that's them, to do things that are in our benefit. Okay. But they're not going to do that unless we're present. And I'm not talking about Second Amendment rights or anything. I'm just talking about everyday civic participation. People want to spend a lot of time, and I understand that there's a need or a place for it, but they want to play Jedi Knight on social media and battle back and forth with each other, which is really not accomplishing anything. There's some simple things that you can do. Go down to your local city council meeting. You don't have to do anything. Just sit and listen. Okay. And I bet you there's something that you probably want to say something about. Do the same thing with your state legislature. If you're lucky enough to live in the city, your capital city, go down there. We do. We sit up there and we don't have to do anything. We just listen. And there may be something, and there usually is something that we want to get involved in. If you're not present in that system, other people are making your decisions for you, right? Do you see what I'm saying? And so people have to get involved on those kind of levels and be a part of, not just waiting for someone to save them or complaining about it.
Well, we need to take obviously action, right? You can't sit there like that's the thing. I mean, President Trump has got to do what he's got to do, right? He's exposing the corruption on many levels, right? Because this is a different beast that he's exposing, right? But does that mean we sit on our proverbials and do nothing? No. We've got to empower ourselves with knowledge. That's what we're here for. That's why we're learning about what we're learning about. We're not sitting there keeping ourselves in a stupefied state, right? And saying, oh, let someone else worry about it. Okay, let them handle it. We've got to learn. We've got to take the bulls by the proverbial horns and learn everything. Learn about the law. Learn about medicine. Learn about everything. So then when you can actually sit there and talk the talk. You know what I mean? And walk the walk, basically. The problem is that people are, they've been bedazzled by all these entities out there that go around with the woo-woo and all that sort of crap, the fluff. And they just talk and talk and talk. And they really don't offer real solutions, Steve. You know what I'm talking about?
No, it's usually, back to the mentality, if you stay in line and do what be quiet and sing kumbaya, then everything will be fine. You can think it into reality, and it doesn't work that way. President Trump has worked very hard to keep things steady and stable and expose things. Did you ever wonder what's going on in his mind? He's probably working, what am I going to have to do to get these people involved? Where people actually say, hey, I don't like this. I want something else done. We see a little more and more of it now, and that's a good thing. But I think a lot of people think that, oh, well, somebody should do something and somebody will. Well, that's us. You have to participate. And whatever your niche is, maybe it's not the economy, although the economy is the one that runs everything else. Maybe it's medicine, or maybe it's food, or maybe something else. Whatever you feel the most strongly about, you need to educate yourself and be involved in bringing about good change, especially if you want to claim that you are awake.
Well,
see what I mean?
The Q plan was designed that's what they call the Great Awakening. So it's done exactly that. It's been awakening the minds. It's been using the Socratic method. In other words, not giving you the answers, getting you to do the research.
That's right. That's right.
Get the mind out of atrophy, right? And yes, exposure of showing you what's really been going on. But it doesn't mean we sit around and that's the problem. There are people that just go around and they believe all the garbage that's been told out there, like the fake Nesara business, right?
Yeah.
And they're like counting on whatever these entities are saying about that to be true. Now, we've shown you what the real Nesara is all about. We've shown you a real proposal. We've shown you the book. We've shown you everything, how it all works. What are the others showing you? Just a bunch of fluff. You know what I mean? That's all it is. And that's what I'm saying. Like, how long are you going to continue to believe those that continue to say lies, deceptions? Okay. What they're trying to do is, it's all to do with monetization, D. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the more gullible people believe them, the more money they make.
The more money they make.
Now, this goes down to this as well. Why does the social media platforms, like all these out there, push them? Because they can be easily discredited, right? They're no threat.
Right.
We are.
We are.
We are a
We're
threat
telling the
because we
truth.
base everything on the facts and receipts, Steve.
Right. Yeah. That's right. We're telling the truth, and we are speaking out against the real evil of the financial system. You know, just like
Correct.
Mr. Werner was on the Tucker interview, we are stabbing at the heart of the beast, and they don't like that. But you know, you've got to think about this. Think about the polls I was talking about tonight.
Mhm.
Okay, the we're unhappy with the economy. Well, how unhappy are you going to have to get before you say, you know what, I'm going to get involved and take some action that can actually make a change, or at least get people talking about it. What I was suggesting is to go down to your state legislature, and or your city council or whatever. You bring them a copy of this and hand it to one of your legislators and say, hey, you work for me, buddy. I want to book report this and I'll be back in 2 weeks. You know, you start pushing them to say, hey, we understand, we can speak your language, and we want change.
And you know what? President Trump has been exposing the lobbyists. I don't know if you saw, but the previous show that I did with the Hanukkah. And he said his father told him, because you got to go back to President Trump's history, his past. Yeah. The biggest and the strongest lobbyists are the Jewish lobbyists, right?
They are.
And he said it. He said it to make it a point. He did it right in front of their faces. He was exposing them right in front of their faces. Do you think they liked it? No, they didn't.
No, no, they didn't.
And then he went out and he said, well, Miriam was paying, who was her name? Miriam Alderson was paying $250 million, right? And he's saying, you know, he exposed that, and he exposed where her loyalties lied and there's lobbyists' loyalties lied. People, and he does it in a way where it's like they know they're getting shafted, but they have to grin and bear it. You know what I mean? Like Bibi Netanyahu.
Yeah.
And that's the genius of this man. He does it in a way where he's shafting him in style. I actually admire that. You know what I mean?
I do too. I do too.
Yeah.
Because it's fascinating to watch him work and to watch him squirm. But there again, like I said, how bad does it have to get before you get involved and start, you know, again, educating yourself and demanding more of your employees? The government works for us. Okay. We're their boss. We should be able to tell them, I don't like this. And yes, and I can sit down with you and I can discuss these points. Why? Because I learned. I read, I learned, I've studied, and it's not difficult. It just requires commitment and action. And
you know what I've never seen, I mean, more than anything before, is that you look at the comments. So basically, these Congress people, there are people out there and they're just calling them out. And they're showing the APAC, how they're involved, how much money they're making. And it's constantly, remember, they won't be able to walk down the street. That's there.
Yeah.
Right there.
That's right.
That's
right.
exactly, we're seeing exactly what Q is talking about, that they won't be able to walk down the street. And they have been, shall we say, exposed on social media, on every which way possible, because they're getting reminded that, hey, buddy, you're not working for the lobbyist, you're working for me.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's exactly what we need to do, and remind them. And you know what? President Trump is making examples. Don't you worry. They're all going to, their end is right. You know, you can see it's all written on the wall. But he's going to make an example of them that obviously it will expose them even more. And there's going to be, shall we say, that's why he's destroying the bureaucracy as well, because the bureaucrats are not people that we vote in. You know, they've been put in there by the lobbyists, by various, you know, entities, or the cabal, if you want to call them. You want to call them? They're the deep state. Yeah. So President Trump is removing them layer by layer. Now that Doge thing was a genius thing, because he's destroying their multiple streams of income as well at the same time, D.
Yeah.
It's genius.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's going to continue to work. And again, like we talked several shows ago about when we were discussing the tax portion of the bill and the External Revenue Service, which is, what his plan is to use to collect the tariffs. Right now, they're going into the general fund, but expanding that and utilizing it, making it a real, or saying a separate entity is a great idea. And there's more of his ideas. And like I said, he agrees with Harvey in philosophy, living in a different era. He's going to have to go about it a little bit different, to bring about changes. But I truly believe that, he's headed in the right direction. Right.
He is. And that's the thing. I mean, these tariffs
the
are
value
necessary.
Of the dollar, we'll just, I think he has said that, I can't remember the quote. I want to look it up, but I read something that he said that he wanted a weak dollar, and there was there's an advantage to that. Sometimes when you're playing global economy, but it's not good for us here at home. So.
Well, look, he said that it's good to have a strong currency, but not that strong. I remember him saying it, right?
Okay,
when he was referring to how China and how they'll purposely bringing down their currency to entice business. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that enticed all these. So they've taken all the intellectual property from the United States and bring it all over there. You know what I mean? That's why it's national security where you put these tariffs on, because number one, do you think NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, all these chip makers, all these entities they're grinning and bearing it, all right? Because they've got no choice, okay? And Trump knows that what they've been doing is taking the intellectual property, because they've been sending all the people over there into the States, learning all the stuff, and that's why he's doing this gold card business as well. Because it's like a big FU to Tim Cook, FU to AMD, FU to Intel, FU to all of them. Hey, you bring them here, they're staying here, and they're going to do what they're going to do. You know what I mean? And that's it. You're not going to sit them, and this was done purposely, guys. It was done purposely. They would send them to the States, take all the intellectual property, and go back and bring it to China and all these other places, and they will be the ones that reap the benefits, while America's been raped. Okay, let's be honest, D.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley might behind. Okay, that was all a setup. Okay, and Trump knows what he's doing about that business.
Mm-hmm.
I know that he's doing it for a reason, because they've been taking advantage. And you know what? America has been treated like the golden calf and been.
Yeah, exactly.
Forget about it. Yeah,
I agree. And I think the tariffs were a good idea from the onset.
Yes.
And some businesses have a hard time because maybe the product that they are creating, they have to import from somewhere else, and it costs them more. But in the big picture, it's starting to work itself out. And he's got a very fair trade policy. You don't charge us, we won't charge you. But other than that, yeah, we should definitely charge tariffs. Well, it's another revenue building source. Why wouldn't we do it?
He also said about EU was set up to destroy America financially, right? Mm-hmm. And you can see that the EU, what they're all about, is trying to bring down America. I can see it. You can see the writings on the wall. Mm-hmm. Number one, they weaken all the countries, so they lost their sovereignty. They put bureaucrats to run the show. Immigration policy, everything, they run it all, right? They brought them under a one currency system, right? And they basically got control of it over every country, right? Finished. They got no sovereignty at all. Okay, that's the only way they could go head to head with America. Trump is about exposing them. They've never been exposed like President Trump has been exposing the EU. Mm-hmm. The EU have got a lot to hide, especially with the Ukraine. Okay? Mm-hmm. Ukraine, the Iranian deal, right? They were pumping money there for a reason. And it was all about bringing down America, all right, because that's what they wanted at the end of the day.
Right.
They're all in it. And Trump is undoing it all. Oh, don't you worry. It's going to be an amazing show.
It will. It will. I'm
Yes.
looking forward to that. So,
I certainly am too.
yeah. All right. Well, good. Well, we got some plans for the future. Oh, I was
We
going to
certainly
show.
do.
I was going to show one other little thing here.
Sure.
This is
We've got
interesting.
some questions, I think, too, Dee.
Oh, we got some questions. Okay, I'll run through this and we'll take some questions. How does that sound?
Yeah.
This is some answers from the survey on our Facebook page, and I just took like 30 responses. But I thought it was interesting. Question one: how familiar are you with Nesara? And this is the real Nesara. And so we had 40% very familiar, 40 somewhat, 10 studied it in depth, and 10 said heard of it but didn't know the details. Right. Next question was, where did you first hear about Nesara? Internet, 63.3%. So there you go. Now these answers were taken early on. These aren't recent. So this is like when we first got started. 33% was a friend, and the news story, I think that probably came from when we were on Louisiana Hometowns featured program, and because that's the news story that we were on. Okay, so what are your thoughts on the current U.S. monetary system? And the biggest answer, of course, was it's deeply corrupt and needs total replacement. That was 73% of the answer. Well, we're on the right track, at least.
Well, we are definitely on the right track.
We're on the right track.
We're not on the wrong side, of stupid, so to speak.
Right. And the other one was it's broken and needs serious reform. So that made up your other 30%. But here's another one. Do you believe the U.S. dollar should be backed by gold and other tangible assets? Okay, 96, almost 97%.
That's amazing.
Said yes. So there you go. And now here's an interesting one. How open are you to exploring alternative economic systems that reduce debt and increase individual sovereignty? 90%. So those are the people that are interested in reform. And that's just a very small segment of people who have visited the website or taken the survey of some other way. So, and that got me to thinking again, back to the young people, how I'm really excited to start sharing this with them and getting their reaction to it.
That's awesome. I mean, look, the numbers are in the favor, so to speak.
Right.
It's not in the opposite direction, which is good.
Yeah.
Look, people do realize that they need a change, and they could see that the only way is I find it strange that we have to keep calling it the real Nesara when there's only one.
There's only one.
What I mean? This is the situation that we're in.
Yeah, we had to call it the real Nesara because there was a grift out there. But I know that we're making headway in that area. In fact, I had shared in the pre-show, shared something with you that we'll work up for next time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be good to add into the Genes episode.
Yes.
About the mainstream media. So we'll have that for you guys next time.
Look, the more we get at the truth, the more, shall we say, that the fake Nesara starts being exposed. So that's what we need to do. We all need to do our bit there.
Yeah, I think we've been very successful. I look at we started in August, and I look at 2025 as the year I can say, okay, I've vindicated my father and his work. I can check that off my list. Now my responsibility, I believe, not only because of him, but because as a citizen, as a citizen of the world, really, is to bring education to people on this subject and get them involved and get them to be thinking for themselves and asking for change, whether that be this change or something else, but at least get them inspired to take action. And so that's what I'm looking forward to this year.
Oh, yes. It's going to be an amazing year.
Right.
Now, what we need to remember is that whatever happens is under President Trump's control.
Yeah.
Okay, no matter what happens. Now, obviously people are always going to take, I must say everybody, but the ones that give into fears and doubts, they're always going to take the negative. You know, I've seen it already, Dee, over and over again. See, here's this and he's bought, sold and blah, blah, blah. It's like expected, okay? Because people only look at what's face value rather than look into what's really going on. And they also buy there's a lot of fear porn that's out there, narratives that have been done deliberately to dirty the waters, okay, and to discredit the real truth.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And it's what you have to look at motivation. He's been bought and sold. I'll just pull that phrase out of there. What possible reason would he have to, if he, why would he even bother with that? Just walk away. He doesn't have to do what he's doing. Never did.
Exactly.
So the only gain that he gets out of this is you know, helping people, helping set things right.
That's right. Now, I want to make something very clear, because there are people out there that blame Q. Oh, it's 8 years and nothing's happened and blah, blah, blah. I mean, you know what the problem is? Is that, think about this. Q was designed to awaken the minds, right? And it has done exactly that. And look, there are things that need to be fulfilled, right? However, there are things that have been promised and said by entities out there, and we need to get it right, that are not in the Q drops. So realistically speaking, should you be blaming Q if it's not in the drops, it hasn't been promised by Q, or should you be blaming them? I would say the latter.
Yeah, I would think so. And you, like I said, you know the drops like backwards, forwards in your sleep. You
I live and breathe it.
Yeah, I know. So, and yeah, okay. So there may be things that haven't come to pass, but there again, what we've talked about many times, it's like a patient come into the emergency room. You have to do triage. Things have to go in a certain order. You know, it's which situation is bleeding the most buckets, and how do I maneuver things to get to that? You know, I don't think you can put or should put a time frame on it. Q was designed to wake people up. Now, if you want to claim, hey, I'm awake now, then you bear some responsibility. You know?
And this is the thing. I mean, if you talk about 8 year, well, think about this. On the 8th year, President Trump came back in the proverbial, shall we say, spotlight. Right. He also brought out, I mean, to the forefront about Epstein. Okay, he's been bringing out about many things. So realistically speaking, has the Q plan been on par? Yes, it has. You know, with that Q drop 3387. So remember also that the events determine where we are in the plan. It's not date driven. Okay, that's another thing that we need to get. So those others that go around promising dates, making all these wild claims, where has it gotten you? Nowhere. Right? And that's why I'm saying, those that go around saying things, check it with the Q drops. It's very simple. All right? Q has not, the things that they've been promising out there is nowhere to be found in the Q drops. And I've even challenged them to come on the show, and they won't, because they know how I know the Q drops back to front. All right?
I can't compete there. Right.
Well, they can't. They can't.
I can't.
And then the other thing is they cherry pick things. So they're just like, for example, they'll say, this first arrest has got to do with Maduro or this. No. Well, where's that? How did you come to that conclusion? Just because it says first arrest, do we use that? You know what I mean? We cherry pick that. No. Q uses logic. And there's a system that it uses, not cherry picking. Please don't do that, because it discredits what we're trying to do, is give Q validity as military intelligence. Okay? That's what we're trying to do. The problem is that people just it's like cut and paste.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, let's go in there and do a lucky dip. You know what I mean? You know, when you bob for apples,
Oh,
that's
bob for
exactly what
apples.
people do. Yeah,
And they pick what fits their narrative. Okay.
exactly.
And then you're back into what keeps them gainfully employed, especially on social media channels, where they're monetized or they have sponsors or, you know, whatever that is. They have to keep it going. That's their paycheck, right? That's what they do.
Yes.
That's their motivation, right? For that individual, is to make sure we got to keep my paycheck coming in. So whatever I have to do and say to continue that, that's what I'm going to do. Right.
And look, you know, you're going to be seeing more exit strategies there. I mean, we've spoken about, and I've seen it already, you know.
Yeah.
You're going to be seeing more of this, right?
Yeah, we've seen several. So
yeah, we have. And what we're going to be doing is focusing on the facts and receipts, showing you how the cons work, right? The mechanics, the psychology behind it, who they target, that sort of thing. So then people need to work out for themselves and say, right, they're doing this, and this. Then who's doing it? This person. Well, you know, you can say, well, you know, that person we stop following. That's logic right there. Right. That's what you got to do. And it's about, okay, have you heard about the law of vacuum and prosperity, D? Very important law of the universe. Again? Vacuum and prosperity.
Okay.
Right? Now, vacuum means this. You get rid of things that no longer serve your highest good, right? Your higher self. It's time to say goodbye, right? To allow the energy to flow of prosperity. Correct. Because if you're going to constantly allow that blockage, right, that you're going to continue on with the same thing over and over and over again, you're not going to allow prosperity, you know, that energy there. This is what I'm saying. It's time for you to get rid of things and people that no longer serve your highest good. Right. That's the law of vacuum and prosperity.
And that's beliefs and, you know, yes. it covers everything. It's not just people, place, and things, but it's beliefs, it's habits, it's, you know, your energy, what you focus your attention on, that kind Correct. Of stuff. And yes, you have to get rid of that is occupying space that no longer serves you anymore. And otherwise you don't have room to receive. That's the, shall we say, the psychological, spiritual realm. Yeah. The physical realm with vacuum and prosperity. So I'm into these. It's very important that we comprehend what that means. So in other words, when we become hoarders, okay, what happens is you are blocking your energy, and by giving things away as well, you're giving something to and allowing prosperity to come. So you don't have the, shall we say, the intention of doing it to expect that prosperity to come. You do it from your heart and say, you know what, give to goodwill, give all these things that I no longer serves my highest purpose right now, give it to somebody else, and then allow prosperity to continue flooding in your life. You know what I mean? So it's about energy. Energy flows, you know what I mean? Right. Where, you know, what you think about comes about. So we need to remember that. So if we're going to intend that we live in a hostile universe, that's what you're going to continue to manifest. That's correct. Right? We need to let go of fear, let go of doubt, right? And don't listen to those that that don't have our, shall we say, our best interests. Let go of them, vacuum them away, and allow prosperity and positivity to flow through your life. Agreed. Yeah, until you rid yourself of the, like you said, the clutter, and I mean that on an energetic level, a belief level, a physical level, you can't receive anything. You have to clear out your mind of old things to allow new thoughts and new ideas to come in. And you know, that's how we evolve. And, you know, if it's on a physical level, sharing with people is a great thing. That's a great thing to do. But whatever, fear is one of those, what I want to talk about, beliefs.
Yes.
Fear is a belief that you need to let go of. Lack, they call it lack mentality or scarcity mentality, that you're going to have to let those things go. And you'll not only is it freeing, but you open yourself up to the now and to what is to come, because you've
Correct.
made room for that. Okay. I'm not gripping something with so tight and holding on to it. I've let it go, and now my hands are open to receive something else.
Correct. How about we take some questions there? Is there any in the chat? Let's have a look.
Okay, let's see.
Guys, please don't forget, okay, this is your opportunity to ask us questions, okay? Let's keep it on track, okay, because I know there's so many things I want to speak about. But let's keep it on track, okay? Put a Q in front of it, and then put your question after that as well, so we can easily find it, okay? So I know there was some floating around there, D. I don't know if you can have a quick look over there. And then please take the time, hit the like button, and join our channel and spread it. Spread the message. The more people get it, I mean, we've got to do things grassroots style. You know the circumstances that we're in, okay? We're dealing with a brick wall, okay? When I mean the brick wall, social media. They don't want the truth getting out there, and they don't want, the real solutions getting out there. What they want is those people that go out there and they just say all the garbage, because they can easily discredit them. It was just like Harvey's work, right? When we spoke about Shanae Goodwin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That wasn't a threat.
Entertainment. Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't a threat. In fact, we've spoken about this, and your father did give the proposal to Bill Clinton, right, of all people.
Yeah.
And you know how it works, okay? So how do you discredit somebody? Well, you fob them off like Bill Clinton's little aide did, or whoever it was, okay, in that letter.
Yeah.
And then you do something else just to make sure that it doesn't see the what do they call it? The light.
The light of day. Yeah.
The light of day.
Discredit them.
Yeah, because I found it very unusual, and we've spoken about this, that Shanae Goodwin had access to a lot of resources and monetary resources, to be quite honest. So this is where, remember what Professor Warner said about the CIA, which was very interesting.
Yeah.
So you think about what they do, and they had their reach everywhere. So the CIA have also created the conspiracy theorist label. Anyone that said anything that was the truth, it was easy for them to paint them with the same brush. It's like what we move forward today. It's exactly the same deal, D.
That's right. That's right. And so, they discredited his work. And because I got the question all the time, well, my goodness, if this was so dangerous to the establishment, why, you're sure he died of natural causes? And yes, there was no need to come after him, because they had painted the bill and anything associated with as woo-woo or nonsense or conspiracy theory, what have you. And so it rendered it, ineffective. And he did as much as he could before he died to fight that. And
think about this.
Finished it.
There are assets that are put in place to dirty the waters. Like, as Q mentions about Alex Jones being a Mossad asset.
Yeah.
They use these assets to give them fake credibility. You've seen how Alex Jones goes around and he absolutely is against Q. However, he's embedded in the MAGA movement, right? And he's dirtied the waters amongst everybody. It's exactly what I think about Shanae Goodwin, D, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. It does follow the same trend. It does.
It does. And we're about patterns and recognition.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. In the end, I would like to know that. Hey, that asset right there. Then you think about it. She passed on, and that was kicked up the can was kicked up the road and continued
Yeah, well, remember the
So
time.
who was the one who did? You know what I mean? This is what I'm saying. Assets are required to continue on with that rhetoric.
Mm-hmm. Well, once it spread to a certain point, she was the catalyst that started it, and then other people picked up on it and made their own paycheck out of it, if you want to call it. There was Nancy. Twitter.
Yes.
I don't remember her last name. Okay.
Starts with D, her last name,
and then
doesn't it?
you move through the next generation, and you get into the James Rink types and the Charlie Goodwin, Charlie, Ward, and all of that. So they just picked up on the already established con.
Correct.
Were they privy to the reason that she started? Who knows? Okay. But they continued it because they saw money to be made.
Well, I want to show you a quick video, D, which is very relevant, and it's about labels. So you think about it, the label was created about the Nesara business being, shall we say, they discredit it, right? So that label was out there. They use also the conspiracy theorist label. They use the anti-Semitic label. These labels are done by design, okay, to control a narrative, right? Now, Dan Scavino, back in October 2024, he actually put this out there, and he did it by design so people need to realize this is what this is all about. You know that Dan is involved with Q, right? That's a fact, right? He's proven it over and over again, just like Q plus President Trump. So he wants us to get what this is all about, how they use labels to control and dirty the waters, because it does happen.
Right.
How do you think they're able to give fake credibility to Alex Jones? He was an asset that was put back in the time of Bohemian Grove, right? And do you think that he waltzed over there with the world's leaders being there without, being interfered by or sniped? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me right now?
Right.
Did you know what I'm saying, D? It's ridiculous. So Dan Scavino did bring out a video, and this video, it will make the world of sense.
Okay, great.
The following directive was issued from party headquarters to all communists in the United States. It read, when certain obstructionists become too irritating, label them after suitable buildups as fascist or Nazi or anti-Semitic, and use the prestige of anti-fascist and tolerance organizations to discredit them. In the public mind, constantly associate those who oppose us with those names which already have a bad smell. The association will, after enough repetition, become fact in the public mind.
There you go. Yep,
that was from Dan Scavino.
Yeah.
So you think about that conspiracy theorist. They were able to, anyone that spoke about Nesara, and you've got this wall to deal with, right? You've been painted with that brush already. So what chance?
It took me forever. Had we not, John Tiffany, the editor of the American Free Press, who wrote a chapter in the 2005, that was huge. And to find that article,
I think I've got that one in here too.
Yeah,
I love that article.
Keep it pretty handy. And then to contact them, and unfortunately, Mr. Tiffany had passed on, but they sent me the original article in which he outlines the entire grift. Now, this was, but there it is, and explains everything, and says how Harvey is trying to combat it back then. Just goes to show that. I believe in my heart that it was a put up.
I agree.
You'll never convince me otherwise, simply because, unless she just came across a lot of money. I don't know how she got funded so well, but she did. I mean, enough to be nationwide, to have vans.
Not only nation, she was international too.
Well, eventually went international, but in the beginning, back in Harvey's time, it was, she had vans going around the White House. I mean, that costs money, it costs money. And believe me, Harvey and Jean thought, we can't, we're going to do what we can, but we can't. We don't have the finances to back this. And that's what they wanted. They wanted it to be painted just like the little video showed with that brush. And so that anybody that even looked at this would think it was crazy. Oh, and why? Why is it so dangerous? Because it strikes at the heart of the beast, at the banking industry, Federal Reserve, and the rules that are made over our monetary system that keeps us economically enslaved. And that's what they don't want to know.
You see, there are real victims, like that lady in Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
That went into court with that, the ridiculous
flyer
document from Shanae Goodwin, and went there and lost her home. I mean, he said 1.7, which is very funny. I think it was done to show what's really going on, because in that article it mentions about your father being the real creator of it, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Like I said, things have been done in a way, and I truly believe President Trump is behind a lot of this. He's doing things in a very subtle, but you could see it, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, you can see what's going on. You can see the tapestry of Harvey's work that's being weaved into what President Trump's bringing in.
Exactly. Like when we did the episode, if y'all did get to see it, go back and look in the list of episodes and look for Trump versus Nesara, I think is what we called it. It was a 2-part series. And I line up, the philosophical basis of what Trump's administrative policies have been and what was laid out by Harvey in the bill and in the book. And they're right. They're right on target.
Right, yeah. How about we go this one first?
I got a question.
So Amber Philly, this is for me because of that mobile. I spoke about the mobile home. I got that video. So what I'm going to try and do is find it, and then I'll put it up on the Truth Bomb section, FCB Truth Bomb section, where you'll be able to find it and easily. So yeah, I'll do that at my as soon as I can for you. She wants to say great information show, D and FCB. Thanks for all the work.
Much, Amber.
No, we really appreciate it. Thank you. And that's what it's about, D. It's bringing out the truth. That's what empowers us.
That's right. And that's what gives, the more people that understand that, like Harvey said, one of the lines in the book was, if you really realized there would be a revolution in the morning, if people really understood the depth and weight of what they have done to us monetarily. Question.
Exactly.
Would the unelected officials include the unions like the teachers' unions? I'm not quite sure. Unelected officials, I guess you mean bureaucrats, include the unions like teachers' unions. A little bit more clarity there because I'm not quite sure what you're asking. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. Let's see, what other ones do we have here? Yes, the Q plan is event driven. So yes, certainly is. Let's see, any more? We're just scrolling down. D. Let's see. Right. Question. There we go. Is that a question? Or a Q? Yeah. Do you want to read that one?
Let's see if I can get it.
Is it a question or a statement?
Okay. Q has mentioned inventions.
Trump has mentioned inventions.
I'm sorry. Q. Okay. Trump has mentioned invention hat were stolen and secret stuff from the mill industry complex. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's not very clear. We're going to have to redo that question. Okay. And we got to be able to comprehend what you're saying. Okay.
Right.
To be able to answer that. So, if you can redo that, Carl, thank you. Let's continue on. Any other questions, guys? No, there's none whatsoever at this point.
All right. Well, I don't know what our time frame is going to be on the Grifter Report, but I know that 2 weeks from tonight we'll be back with the Real Nesara Show.
Yes,
and I'm gonna get Jean here. We'll figure it out. It gives us 2 weeks to set up something so she can be a part. I don't know that she'll be able to hang with us for a whole 2.5 hours, but we'll get her to jump in here for a good hour or so.
Well, you never know. I mean, she might get rolled up, and
she might get rolled up.
She could take us to 4 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? God knows anything's possible here.
Anything is possible with her. That's true.
That's right. So look, we're going to be working on a lot of things in the background, guys. we're going to incorporate things about health. I think it's very important, Dee, and you got a background on health, which is great, amazing. You know a lot about things, and we would like to share that with everybody. I think it's very important, very fundamental, because there are things that we overlook. The most important thing is your health. Without your health, you got nothing, right? Let's be honest.
That's right.
Okay. And I know a lot of people have been promised them all these other things, you know, all these whiz-bang cures like the med beds and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
So we're still waiting on, you know, we know that's these entities go out there and they just lie and lie and lie and lie and lie, right? We're not saying we don't want it to be true. We want things to be true, but we want them to be factual, right?
That's
like
right.
we've always said.
And
what we want to do is offer a real solution. Sorry, Dee, you go for it.
No, go ahead. You know, knowing we start talking about pharmaceuticals and understanding that system, understanding about, like I said, I was telling earlier about natural plants, and I have read several different things about how the use of plants were almost made illegal for certain things because they could manufacture something synthetic and sell you. Just that basic knowledge, you know. There's a whole thing about the medical industry as a whole, and I'm not blaming doctors. Doctors are great, you know, and there's so much about modern medical technology that is fabulous, but like anything else, there are issues and there are people that make money, and Big Pharma is one of them. I'm glad to see. I know RFK is working in the food industry, but also, you know, some of the pharmaceuticals as well. And there needs to be a balance, and we can't get there unless we're educated about it.
Exactly. We need little Nesara Bibles to pass around.
Okay. Well, share the Facebook page, share the website, and you know, those blogs on there. If you can print those out, you can. You know, anything that you come across on the website or anything like that, just pass them out and, you know, print them and share them. Please do. The more people we can let know, the better.
Exactly that. So hopefully you got a lot out of tonight's show, guys. I got quite a bit out as far as learning about GDP. It's something that needed to be discussed, obviously, because everyone hears about it on the news, okay, constantly. And it's important to know, how does it affect us? How does it benefit us? Does it really benefit us? No, not really. It's good to know, but realistically speaking, when it comes down to the proverbial pocket, it's really not offering any solutions.
Right. And so now you can, what I wanted to mainly explain is why you see this difference, why, you know, all of these reports are coming out saying the economy is doing great, but you're not feeling it in your pocketbook. Again, that is back to that your wages are not keeping up with cost. Why? Because your dollar's not worth anything. Okay. And until that can be righted, you're not going to get anywhere again. And you're overburdened with a debt that you can't pay back, you know, because of compound interest. And so that's why you see the skew. Now, not that we're not headed in the right direction. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm explaining to you why you see the difference. Okay.
Yeah.
As things grow, as, you know, President Trump has said, and I believe is coming, many more manufacturing jobs coming back to the United States. Again, the data centers, you know, like them, don't like them, whatever, those do bring jobs. All of this new stuff to bring jobs, that doesn't just pop up in 3 days. That has to take time to be built and to work and get into the system. So with the opening up of more jobs for Americans because of immigrants, you know, illegal immigrants going out, you got to give that stuff time to work out. I mean, as far as the economic outlook for next year, I think it looks pretty good.
Do you want to have a bit of a laugh?
Okay.
Okay. Have a look at this. I mean, President Trump is about making examples, right? Just like this. This is Maduro walking down the hall of shame. Have a look.
Okay.
I've got no audio, but have a look at this.
I want to blow this up. Okay.
Look at that. The hall of
Of course,
shame.
I've seen that.
Yeah, no, this is on the rapid response from, it's directly, so it's legit. But look at this. It's not enough that he's been, shall we say, he went to hide in some sort of trap, door or something that was made out of steel. But he's like he's been shoved down the hall of shame. Happy New Year. Hold on. I want to see if we can get the audio going because it's you got to listen to it. It's funny, guys. It's like real Trump style. Like it's not enough that they nabbed him and, snatched him from going in the trap door, but now they're going to parade him around. You got to love his style. I love Trump. But the question is that we would like to see that with Obama and the gang. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, we would.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, we were talking about that earlier, and I said, now here he is. He can go to a foreign country and get this guy and do all that kind of stuff. But what about the drug dealer on the corner? And we had to say, well, we got to look at the bigger picture. Okay. And he said it. He didn't hold back. He said, yes, we're going to stop people from bringing drugs into this country, and we're going to do it however we need to. Oh, yeah, by the way, we're in the oil business. So
Exactly.
this is it. I'm not going to tell you any
It's like, no, we're in the oil business now. And we're going to be selling the oil to the other countries like Russia and China.
Right. Well,
deal with it. You know what I mean?
Venezuela's oil actually cut into, when their oil production went down, that market share went to Russia. So by Trump jumping back in and cranking it back up, it hurts Russia in the long run.
That's exactly what I thought Mickey Mouse is that he was wearing on his head.
Oh, are they commenting?
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought when I saw it. So anyway, let's watch this. It's funny. I've got tears in my eyes because it's like this. Now, you idiot, you're going to walk down the proverbial hall of shame. We gave you the chance. You didn't listen.
The perp walk.
Oh, the perp walk, right? It's like, no, now you're going to be walking down there and you're going to wear these funny, looks like Mickey Mouse here. Watch this. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, hold on. I just got to mute our audio. Otherwise, you can.
Good night. Happy New Year.
Oh my gosh.
Happy New Year.
And hear all the clicks from the media.
That is the topper. I'm going to say that's definitely Trump style.
It is.
All the way. Happy New Year as well. They might as well got him a party popper to pop while he's walking down. When they get the champagne and they open the cork, and that's what they should have done all over him, and had some mini sparklers and firecrackers going off.
That is too funny.
Oh, look! Look at it! It looks like a Mickey Mouse. And the thing is, you got to ask yourself: is it done deliberately? You know what I mean? Because it's central casting. That's what it is. To me, it's like essentially this central casting. Look at this.
Or they say you can't make this up. Huh?
Look at this, Mickey Mouse. That's what I'm saying. It's like we're in some sort of comedy show,
right?
It's like, are we living in what reality are we in? Oh yes, no. Today we're in the comedy section. Tomorrow, yesterday we're in the action sequence with him. Right, so the action sequence.
That's right.
Then you've got the comedy section, and then probably have the horror or something. We don't know which section we're going to end up in.
You never do.
You know?
Oh, that's funny. Well, I'll have to go check that out.
Oh, look, there's so much of it. And obviously, look, they're going out there. And you know what's funny? Did you see the other business with President Trump with all the different shots, black and white, color? But it was like they were posing. In Mar-a-Lago, look, they're looking really serious at screens. And
I did see some photographs. Yeah, I did see some.
It's like that stuff belongs on the cover of Vogue. What are you doing?
Well, if they're using that as a situation room there, then they always have photographers in there.
Oh, look, but it's just the way they do it. It's like for the masses to get excited. Yeah, look at this one here. So we got this business of him being escorted off the plane. Have a look at that. So he's off the plane there. He's going, is there any sound? Let me have a look. I wonder if he went in first class, or which class did they have him in?
Well, I don't know anything about the aircraft, but it does. To me, it looks kind of like a UPS aircraft.
Delivery service.
That's what it looks like. It looks like the brown and white.
Well, look, I will release on the pulse. I will explain his background, his history. I think it's very important that people know his history. Yeah. What really is going on? Okay, why is it happening now? I'll break it all down because there is a lot more. As I said, there's a lot of complexities that need to be explained using facts, evidence, and receipts, and it needs a bit of time. So President Trump back in 2017 was talking about this. Now it's 2026, so I would say 8 years completed.
Right. There you go.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think you're right. You need to do the whole story because people don't know the entire history, and it puts things in perspective. So a good deep dive on that one.
And then you got the left and right little, got ping pong. You know what ping pong is? One hits the ball and the other one. Yeah. Well, you got the left and right now business going on where it's like the right, oh no, see, President Trump promised this was going to happen, and the left go, no, but he shouldn't do this, that's illegal, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. All these things. So you got this little ping pong session going on, but they're all working for the same team. People don't realize that.
They do. And he superseded all of that. They can stand there and the media and the Congress, they can argue back themselves all they want to. Like I said a few minutes ago, he said, yep, I got the bad guy and we're going on the oil business. That's it. Next question. I'm not going to address this foolishness anymore. He never does anything unless he's sure he's got legal authority. Right. So he's going to move on.
There's a lot of video, guys, that's been released. You're going to see a lot of it. Different poses of him getting off the plane, different... It's funny, Yeah. And it's like, look, this is all political theater too. You must remember there's a lot of political theater going on. Because another thing, and we'll wrap it up, but think about it from this perspective.
Yeah.
And if you look at the movie Wag the Dog, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And all these other movies that they show these leaders, and these leaders' ratings are going down. So then what they do is they create a situation or a war like Wag the Dog or something like that to distract, because I think in Wag the Dog, something happened. That's right. The leader was involved in some sexual business, right? And the ratings went down. So they needed something to boost the ratings. So they created the distraction. Right, this is what you should watch that movie, Wag the Dog.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I saw it a long time ago. So.
Yes. So this is exactly what happens in reality too, guys, where they go by polls, they see that a leader's ratings are going down. So then they require something to distract the public that will boost their ratings.
They create a problem, and
Exactly.
then they create a problem. It needs a solution, and then the leader with the low poll numbers comes in and saves the day, and everybody goes, "Yay!"
And then the ratings go up again.
And they're right.
right?
Yeah.
And then people forget about the Epstein files.
I don't think
No, they haven't. They haven't because I said no. But what I'm trying to say is that do you find it a coincidence? The other thing, do you find it a coincidence because the Epstein files are tied into where Mossad, Israel again, that these files were due, I think, around about now, and then we had this business. That's what I'm saying. You got to look at what's really going on. And it may be that they needed this distraction because it's not time to bring this whole thing to an end. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
Anything is possible. Look, this is what I'm saying. You got to look at, there's so many complexities that are involved in this whole thing.
All right. Well, like I told you before, when you're engaged in a battle, okay, things are not paint by the numbers, right? You have skirmishes, you have full on, and there's attack and counterattack, and you have to be able to adjust and move. Okay. That's the way real warfare works. So nothing's going to work on an exact predetermined time frame. You have to be able to be flexible and adjustable and swing and turn, and I'm quite sure there's many things that he wants to have lined up. You know what I'm saying? And there's certain things that you want to get accomplished. And, this is important to have to restore Venezuela to democracy. Hopefully they can do that. If that's what the people want, it seems to be. And helping them and investing in their oil is phenomenal for
I'm sure there's a lot more, and like as I said, there's a lot more to it, which is a lot more complexities are involved because you got to look at it from different angles. Why is this happening now? So these things, look, you talk about Trump said about in 2017, now it's 2026. Say, what's been 8 years, right? So would you say it's coincidence or done by design? I'm going to say done by design.
Could be. Well, I don't think it's coincidence, but
no.
What I'm saying is that things don't just happen exactly the way you map them out all the time because you're dealing with other things and other people, and sometimes you have to make adjustments.
Oh, look, as you move, there's adjustments, but that's why it says pre-planned in the Q drops 3387 because this plan is pre-planned. Okay. You think about this. Could have President Trump taken down Maduro back in the day? Yes, he could have. He could have done it. Why did he leave it this long? Things need to be done like what you said about in a sequence, D.
A certain order. Yeah.
Because one thing leads to another. That's how it works. So when you do a plan, you've got this plan that's been organized and you're orchestrating it, and it's got to be done in a certain sequence. That's why this is where we are right now, because of where the next part of this plan is going to head. And I could tell you right now that we are heading towards a lot of escalation. You have a look at what's going on. So Venezuela and who they're connected to. So it's not just we're going to take it over, because there are other countries involved in this as well.
That's right. Yep.
So I will bring that out on the Pulse. No,
good. I'm looking forward to that. I really am.
Rightio.
All right.
Okay,
well, thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Please share the show and spread the word, and get your copy if you haven't already. Draining the Swamp, the Nesara story. Appreciate your time. We'll see you next.
God bless you. Thank you.
Bye.
I can feel it coming in the air tonight. All I want doing. I know where you've been. It's all been a pack of lies. And I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord. Well, I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord. Well, I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord. Oh Lord. I remember, don't worry. How could I ever forget? It's the first time, the last time we ever met. But I know the reason why you keep me silent. No, you don't fool me. The hurt doesn't show, but the pain still grows. So stranger to you.